ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. This is probably one of the most interesting interviews that I ever had. And the reason why, first of all, the gentleman that I have today, it is a man who's who lives in the same town where I was born and grew up, Rome. So it's kind of exciting. But also because I have the opportunity through him, and you, listeners, you will have the opportunity through him to live and to experience, more important, to learn, if you want to say, and discover one of the mysteries that I really believe it's the cause of all this happening around us. We see where we are going. We see this global tyranny is happening. We see the creation of this global government. We see in America, and not just in America, also in Europe, our rights have been destroyed. Didn't happen by accident. All these phony wars, they are not happening by accident. And this is not just now. In the last few hundred years, there have been a secret group of people, call them elite. Some people call them the Illuminati. You can call them whatever you want, but they are powerful people that normally you will never see on the front pages of newspapers, or normally you will never hear on the radios, on the news. These people, they've been the controllers and the real architects of governments. And they've been planning our lifestyle and how we live, how we die, how we can work. This is not an accident. Now, I have a person that is being part of one of these secret societies, and also is a book author. He's been writing a lot about this, and he has a lot of information to share. And also, he has a lot of information about the Catholic Church that you know very well, guys. I used to be a Catholic. I was born in Rome. I was Catholic. And when I realized that I don't want to bow down to another king, especially when a man wants to bring himself between God and us, I believe that there is a problem. I believe that every man is corruptible. But more important, I would like to learn from this guest what he thinks about the Pope and the Catholic Church. His name is Leo-Zagami from Rome, Italy. Leo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Nice to meet you, Leo. Me? Yes, see you perfectly. And, this is going to be fun for my listeners. We have two Italian guys. At least, you are Italian. I gave up my citizenship, but I still have my accent. Anyway, we got both accent from Rome, and we all both speaking English. So it's going to be kind of an interesting interview, okay?
Yes, I guess it's going to be quite funny for some people. Maybe they want to find it entertaining, to say the least.
Alberto Sordi, I don't know, guys, if you have it in Italy, America, but check it out. Alberto Sordi, you want to become an American. Anyway, listen, Leo, before we start, introduce yourself, because you got a very interesting background, and would like to ask you exactly to talk about your part of life where you were part of this almost secret world, it's a secret world, of these secret societies. Because this is something important. Not everybody has that type of experiences. Who is Leo-Zagami? And more important, who was Leo-Zagami?
Leo-Zagami is a 45-year-old gentleman, I will say, born in Rome in 1970, and basically at the age of 23 I got initiated by Prince Alliata di Monreale into a branch of Freemasonry which was connected to a particular Knighthood order and to the New World Order and the Vatican. And so I discovered at a very early age a reality behind the curtains of what we know as the official version of history, which was very different, of course. And that's because of my background. My grandfather was a Sicilian senator. On my mother's side, instead, I'm related to the Queen Mother of England, so to the Queen and to the present Queen. And of course I'm also related to a lot of other nobility and to figures that have influenced the course of history, I guess. But for myself, I have made myself a name by coming out of the New World Order in 2006 with my exposés on the internet. Later on in 2008, I decided in the middle of 2008 that the internet was not the safest place to leave all this information, and was actually much better to write some proper books to bake all this info in books. And the first nation that gave me this possibility was Japan. Then later on in 2012, I started to publish also my books in Italy. And later on, I engaged into political activity, thanks also to the success of these books that brought me to participate to the elections of 2013, of course failing because I didn't enter parliament. But at the same time, later on, I participated to the Forks Revolution in Italy, and then I went back full time to writing because basically the Bilderberg Club and the European Union here is such a mafia that there is really no reason to engage into politics because it's a lost cause from the start. So now I'm again a full-time author, and I do that through also since last year CCC Publishing in San Francisco that has finally given me the possibility to publish my books in the English language, and that's what we are doing. We had Pope Francis, the last Pope, which was my first book, which has been a bestseller in the last few months in the US in various categories. And now we are about to release what is really this masterpiece, which I think will shock a lot of people and will create definitely some waves because of the information, the documentation that is in it. Is the Confessions of an Illuminati Volume 1, which is already in pre-order. And I hope that by this time next year I will be able to come to the US and present also the other book, which is Volume 2, which will come out then in the spring. I think that all this work that I'm doing with my books is a much different work from the one you are maybe used to get on the internet in regards to my persona, because it's a much more detailed work, it's a much more serious work when it comes down to the sources that have to be very carefully found, cited, meticulously put together in a way that, as you know, Gianluca, here in Italy we have a big problem that if you don't write correctly 100% everything, you might get in trouble with the law, because you can get sued very easily for writing even one wrong thing in Italy. There is no freedom of speech like in America. So, but I think that by having Italy as a training ground for my books, I became very meticulous in giving the correct information out and making sure that I am inattackable from outside, and especially when I attack people like the Vatican. I mean, my book, especially Volume 3, caused quite a stir when it came out, and it was one of those books that influenced very much the resignation of Ratzinger, because I brought out a whole reality of things that was yet to be known in Italy at that time. And then later on I also published what then it was another little booklet dedicated to the Pope, and that of course has created some problems for me in Italy. They fought back against me. They managed to convince some of my publishers to give up my work, and then I was basically sabotaged on TV. I'm not anymore on TV in Italy. I was regularly maybe hosted from this or this other TV station at the national level, and this doesn't happen anymore because they simply said Leo Zagami can't go on TV anymore. So I mean, I'm pretty much ostracized in Italy, but in the US I have found some wonderful people. Last year when I visited, I was in California. I spent a lot of time with Sean Stone, which is the son of Oliver Stone, and thanks to him I was able to meet a lot of people that gave me a hand in launching my project in the US, which is to make these things known and and of course help the resistance towards the New World Order by doing so. And for doing this, I, in the last few months, came in contact with Alex Jones of InfoWars, and together we have also made this excellent documentary in Rome, which is going very well, and which exposes the demonic side of the Vatican, and then we had some great information to deliver during the visit of the Pope. With Alex, I think we did probably in the US with InfoWars we have been the only ones to really to attack the Pope this way, because everybody else seemed to have been in a kind of trance, induced by the media, induced by the mind control that is inflicted by the media, and so everybody had to say how nice was Pope Francis. So, exactly. I mean, in this kind of scenario, InfoWars probably has been the only one to, at the top to rebel and to really show that we know the truth about this Pope. We think that this Pope is against the fundamental principles that lay within the American society, against the principle of sovereignty, the principle of capitalism. We basically think that this Pope is a communist, and of course this means that he's against any gun rights, he's against the freedom that people rightly have achieved in America since 1776. Which have been a year of independence, especially from Europe, and not only England, but also Europe, the whole, represented also by the Vatican, which has also always had their strong control over the whole of the aristocracy of Europe at that time, in 1776. Of course, the Vatican played a fundamental role, and we see how the Americans rebelled to all this. They created their own nation. Of course, they participate at some levels within the realms of Freemasonry, within the Illuminati. There has been gradually also an infiltration that, of course, created later on more and more, gradually more problems in this idea of the US that is difficult to manifest without any interference from, other countries, and of course from those people that we call at times the Illuminati for convenience. In reality, we should call the Illuminati network. This is not a wrong way of calling them. Let me tell you, the Illuminati, of course, of Adam Weishaupt, terminated pretty soon, so is wrong.
Leo, 1 second only. Let me stop you 1 second. I want to give the opportunity because
yes.
Many of my listeners know all the stuff. Many listeners say, "What the hell are you talking about?" First of all,
yes.
Number one thing, we know we are here on the air. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna and the special guest from Rome right now, Leo-Zagami, book author. This gentleman is not just some writer. He's been living through his life, his family also. This, I say, experience to be part of this secret society. Now, before we go ahead, I would like to ask you one thing. Not everybody can become part, not everybody is asked to be part of this secret society. I think something has to do with the blood lines, right? I mean, how do you become part of this secret society? Somebody has to call you in. You cannot just say, can I apply for that
sure,
position? I mean, regular people like me, they wouldn't like me. I mean, how did you get in? Why did you get in?
I think that as an Italian you understand what it means to be within a certain elite of certain families, especially if you are Sicilian, part Sicilian. If the Sicilian family is of course made up of barons, of marquis, of princes, and of people from the nobility, and at the same time from politicians, from people who are influential in various walks of life, and at the same time in England, of course, and in Scotland, where the Lion family comes from. These are families, of course, that are part of a certain elite. So you are born within it. You can also make a very superficial choice in life, like many Pariolini. You know, there is this area of Rome called Parioli, and we usually call them Pariolini, those upper class kids who are usually very spoiled, on cocaine all the time and wasting their life away. Now, you can make that kind of choice, or you can make a more responsible choice. Let's say say that when I came into contact with this reality at a very early age, I was probably amongst the very few to do such a choice at such an early age, because usually people prefer to waste their life before doing a lot of stupid things, and then maybe around in their 40s they realize what they have to do, and they get on board of these secret societies. But by then, a lot of things have happened, and you will not really get into the elite of these secret societies.
So you have a bloodline of nobility. I mean, say
a bloodline. They choose you. They say you're interested. If you want, you can, of course, do it. But you are also free to refuse if you want. At that point, what you do, most of the people I know, like I said just earlier, go into all the excesses of life because they are refusing their own responsibility, and they just prefer to think that, they're just privileged in this world and they can do whatever they want. I accepted it in a responsible way because I believed, Gianluca, that I was doing at that moment of time, I was coming from a very anti-communist background. I had been in the military, I had been in the Air Force. In the Air Force, they actually contacted me and they started to prepare me to what I was supposed to do. They even tested me, bringing me one night in a house to steal some material from a guy from the Serbian Secret Service, and I had to break into his house in midnight. I mean, it wasn't like just, there were some tests before then saying, okay, come here at this time, and then you will be initiated. But before, there was a gradual period of about probably, I never really talked much about that, but it started in 1989 and it went on all the way into, let's say 1993 when I was then initiated.
Wow. So it took you a long time just to be tested. Now, question is, I just studied these things. All I want to say is once you're part of this, it's difficult. It's not like a club, like, okay, the Kiwani Club or the Rotary Club. You can leave anytime you want. Technically, you took oath that they are pretty clear, they're pretty powerful, they're pretty strong. Also, they treat these odds with violence, even if you just talk about these things, I mean, so this is like something like, almost compared to the same type of ceremony.
But I don't say Luca, I can call you Gianluca or Luca.
Yeah, Luca, it's fine.
Okay. I can say, Luca, that I was a pretty ruthless person myself in those circles. So what I did was to create a kind of fear in the enemy against the possibility of retaliation. And at the same time, I had my own lodges that I kept independent, and that in the end, even when they tried to infiltrate them and try to bring these people away from me, in the end I managed to still retain my own circle of trustable individuals, which will help protect me until now. So, I mean, of course, I decided to go against the system, but I wasn't completely crazy. I mean, I knew that it was a risky thing, but of course, things are made with some very, it's like a game of chess,
So, because people must understand what you've done. I mean, I didn't read your books yet. By the way, I ordered them on Amazon. I can't wait to see them. I'm very excited. I got 2 books that they should come anytime here. One, of course, is the Confession of Illuminati. Is this just a pre-order? So I don't know when it's coming. But the point is, just the fact that you write a book like Confessions of an Illuminati, and if you start to divulge informations that normally they're just for the inner circle of people who took an oath and they cannot reveal these things. And some of these oaths, I've been studying different books from Masonry, things like that. Technically, they can kill you. They say that they have the duty to kill you if you talk about these things to the people that are not part of the circle. So the fact that you're here, and more important, you wrote these books.
Zanna, but we're talking here about a mafia, basically.
Exactly. It's
mafia,
like mafia
comes from the word masonry. Massia in Sicilian. The S was transformed in F because the old S was written like an F. And then also in the Masonic book, there is a specific one for the instructions of the 30th degree that says also that this is actually, part of the tradition of Masonry. Mm-hmm. And of course we have also the reference Mazzini autorizza furti, incendi, assassini, and the whole fact that really before Garibaldi we can say that the mafia really didn't exist the way it is nowadays. And so it is a Masonic creation in the way it has then been developed. And when you are somebody at a level like I am at that Don level. My ancestors are Don. Behind me I have Don Giovanni Labruto. Don. You know what a Don is in Sicily?
Mm-hmm. Don, like in the movie The Godfather,
So there's nothing else you have to ask me.
Exactly. Wow, this is very interesting. I didn't know this part. Now, question is, what is their goal? I mean, I know that there are different levels of the part of this organization, and some people think they're doing something just for personal gain. Some other people, they think they can just do this for prestige or whatever. But at the end of the day, the top of the level of the Illuminati or this secret organization.
It's if we want to really make it simple, because of course, a lot of what I talk in my books is very specific, it's very complicated, it needs a lot of study. But if we were at the bar, me and you, having a coffee, I would prefer to talk in this way because it would be more direct. So I will tell you, dear Zanna, these people are from the secret services of half of this planet, actually of the whole of this planet. They are, some of them, very ruthless, but not because they're criminals, but simply because if you are with a license to kill, you can kill. Okay? This is how it works.
Wow.
So, I would say that the whole perception of reality is different for these people than for the majority of people, okay? Like, for example, the perception of having a person killed is different because a normal person will say, oh Jesus, I killed that person, and then the police arrives, and then I will get arrested, and then this, and then that. Instead, in this kind of circles of people, it's so ruthless and so cold, it's like, hey, do you want him whacked? Is he giving you a hard time? Should we make him? Okay, fine. Get him out of the way.
It's like a day at the office. It's a regular day. They're so normal for them, But this is, of course, the arm, the arm.
And of course, also there is the thing that on the top there is the rituals. There is, of course, the occult power elite, and then there is, of course, at that point, a contact with a level which is in the invisible world, the extra-dimensional level. In that case, you have to really be knowledgeable because you are dealing with some very serious forces. Now, if you think that these forces don't exist, it's okay. You just live in your own reality. You have never took the red pill. You have taken the blue one. You keep on going. But if you take the red pill and you want to understand what is in that extra-dimensional reality, and if you want to deal with these forces, these forces, they are not only in the hands of some hocus-pocus witch doctor. There is also people from this kind of environments which are quite scientific with these forces in the way they adopt them, they use them, they respect them, and at the same time they have a very ruthless attitude when it comes down, because maybe they are really evil, some of them. Some of them have really given into power, terrestrial power, and that terrestrial power offers them more and more riches, and they get more and more corrupt. So of course there is a lot of evil in all this. And at one point I simply decided that this evil was intolerable, even if it could have made me a multi-billionaire, instead of being at the levels I'm now, which is really scraping the floor compared to that, because, publishing books is not a big deal compared to the business we could have done in Monte Carlo 10 years ago or any time, So, I think that the sacrifice that was made is right. It makes me sleep better at night. It makes me think I'm a better person, and also I can help others understand this different reality. The fact that these people have threatened me after, of course they are threatened. They have attempted many different things against, but I was able, thanks to some very trusted individuals, to get these people to actually counteract their attacks. I make you just an example. And this is an example that is going to shock many Americans.
Wow, go ahead.
And it's a scoop for your radio, if you want.
Yeah, please. I love that. Go ahead.
There was a guy that was involved in the Monte Carlo Lodge that was the head of the International Rotary Club division in New York, a guy called Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri. Okay? He's one of the heads of the Sons of Italo-Americans in the U.S., the big association, for Italo-Americans. Sons of it, they have lodges all over the U.S. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri is probably one of the main reasons why I went out of the Monte Carlo Lodge, when he didn't act on something that I was really eager to understand better, which was what was really going on in the Bohemian Grove, in the Skull and Bones, in certain secret societies in the US, which I really started to perceive as a danger to the whole network of the Illuminati. Okay? So, what happened was this. Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri didn't accept this, and actually there was a conflict that I described in volume 2 of my book. But after this conflict, he, of course, got me kicked out of in a way, of the Monte Carlo Lodge. There was, not kicked out. He put me on trial. There was a trial, but I didn't even attend the trial. I sent some other people to attend it for me. But in any case, because of course it could have been even dangerous physically. You never know.
Yeah.
In any case, here we're talking about Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri, who was a P2 member. Yes. P2 member registered in the ones they actually got a Castiglione Fibocchi, so officially.
Yes.
Who then became from Italian an American, worked with the NSA and the CIA on certain operations, and I was also involved. Okay?
Wow.
Fine. But at one point, what happened was this with Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri. He got to do things that I disliked. First of all, he didn't take care of his son. His son was a police guy, very nice guy, but he had a weakness, got into drugs, became an heroin addict, and was about to die. He knew that, and he let him die. So I never forgive that. And I said, Giorgio, listen, it's not like wasting me of respect if you let your son die, because I'm here in charge. I was a superior of Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri in the Monte Carlo Lodge, so I gave him orders, even if he's an older guy.
Wow.
Because he's a commander. He was trained at the Academy of Livorno of the Navy. He's a good military guy, but I used to give him a hard time, and plus we used to collaborate in matters of counterintelligence and anti-terrorism. I wrote even his speak for the anti-terrorist summit in Malta in 2006. So I was, pretty much, before I came out, just before I came out, I still collaborated with him for important matters.
Wow.
But in any case, Giorgio Balestrieri, there was something wrong in him. He had started to be too close to some 'ndrangheta families from Gioia Tauro. Okay? One in particular, which is called the Cosca de Demolé. Okay?
Yes.
And basically, they deal with weapons, they deal with drugs in Gioia Tauro, they deal with a lot of shit, and they deal also with the Chinese who bring in a lot of counterfeit stuff and things through Gioia Tauro. So I said to the other guys in the lodge, this guy is starting to become, because he said, I'm doing this for the CIA, to be in contact with the 'ndrangheta families is my duty because I'm working for Peter Sellers, blah, 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 in Washington. Wow. I said, it seems to me that you are actually doing business on the side here, that you are going a little bit out of the line, okay? That you are crossing the line in between legality and illegality. And a guy like you, who is, I repeat, president of the Rotary Club of New York, the international division, not at New York, in the United Nations, the most important Rotary Club in the world, should be a respectable individual. Instead, he was not being very respectable. He was involved also in an exchange of weapons with the Hezbollah at Gioia Tauro. And there was some stuff that, at one point, when he went against me in 2000, it was 2006, this war started between me and him. It started to escalate, because when I went public, I went on the Greg Zismansky show, on JCN network, or blah, blah, blah. The whole thing with the GNC network, the Genesis network, the one, of course, Alex's network. And I started to make this story public. Things that got even more ugly between me and him. There was an attempt between some members of the Monte Carlo Lodge to bring me back to Livorno in the end of 2007 and try to have a mediation, no?
Yeah.
But I didn't accept this because I wanted to really bring out of the Monte Carlo Lodge my order, which I still have, which is, I am the Grand Master, which is the Ordo Illuminatorum Universalis. So what happened was this. Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri, at that point, we, with the Italian police and the Italian intelligence, understood that he had really crossed the line into the illegality. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they started an operation called Operation Maestro that was already going on. It was an ongoing operation against the 'Ndrangheta in Gioia Tower and against the Cosca of the Mole. Mm-hmm. And they basically arrested 26, because the 27th was supposed to be Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri. But what happened was this. He had two passports, Italian one and American one, okay?
Okay.
Italian one, he was called Giorgio Balestrieri. He made an American one where it was called Giorgio H. Ugo Balestrieri. Okay? He used that to get out of Italy, and basically through Lebanon, he went then back into the US, and he had an international, warrant again. I mean, the police was searching for, how you say, an international
warrant.
A warrant against him, and the news in Italy has said, these people, but there is one guy missing, but they didn't really say who he was, because of course the Italians didn't want to draw too much attention on this person, because he had a lot to say and he was working with the Italian government until a minute before, no?
Yes.
He had worked with the Italian government, Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri especially. He was very close to Cossiga for a long time, but he also had been working because of the ambassador from San Marino, a very important Freemason, who gave him this cross of Michelangelo, which he basically sold to the Italians and then gave him a fake one.
Wow. Listen.
So he kept the real one. When he was arrested, he escaped with the real one. No, he actually, he pretended to escape with the real one, but in the meantime, he had hidden it in San Marino. What happened later on is this, that this demonstrates the story. Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri was fought. The story was followed. I managed, at least with the alternative media, to denounce what was happening, and we built up the pressure so much that this year Balestrieri was arrested in Italy and he was brought to Re Bibbia. And of course, in May, because I have access to the police, the penitentiary police is my friend, I have access to their thing, and I could check out if he was still in prison. Of course, they let him go to his house in house arrest, but it is a success that demonstrates what I said 10 years ago when I left the Monte Carlo Lodge. This guy is a criminal, and he had to be arrested.
Wow,
so,
let me say something. This is so important. No, Leo, sorry to interrupt you. Guys, while Leo was talking about this, I was verifying all this information I was doing from mainstream media and different Googling. You can do it.
Yeah, it's all mainstream media.
No, this is official. This is serious stuff. This is serious stuff. Not only you can get sued or, for libellos or whatever. In Italy, it's so easy. All you have to say that you offend somebody. There is no First Amendment. You can get sued and arrested too, by the way, for defamation and whatever. But the point is, you can get killed so easy. These are powerful people. These are people that normally we'd never really hear it. But I tell you, we're talking about secret worlds of very well connected, the most powerful people in the media, in the police, in the political system. And this guy that we were just talking now, this is the real guy. It's not just some phantomas out there. So I'm telling you, I'm pretty shocked about the fact that, you are completely part of this, and that you're still here, by the way, talking about it, honestly. I'm really am. Now, I'd like to give the simple...
I will say this, just to, close up the fact that I'm still here. Well, I must say that, of course, it was God's will that I'm still here, because without God's help, definitely I would not have gone through some of the things that I had to... It wasn't easy,
Yeah,
now I'm not telling you what they have
understand.
done. But since then, they accused me of espionage, they arrested me, they tortured me, they did all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Listen, I would like to give, because you're talking things that I understand. I've been studying. Of course, I'm not an expert like you, but I can catch up. There are a lot of people out there that say, but maybe they're driving the car. So what are they talking about? What is this Illuminati? What is this secret society? I would like to give you as a student, you're my, tutor here. What I would like to give to my listeners, like the easy explanation, and correct me when I'm wrong, please, okay? The bottom line is that it's been since many, many centuries. The Illuminati world, started that in the 1776 in Germany, we know that. But then there are secret society even before that.
Okay, there, stop.
Please,
it started thousands of years ago in Atlantis.
Exactly.
It passed through Egypt. 1776, Bishop's Illuminati is only a specific emanation.
Perfect.
And it didn't last much. It was very influential because for the first time, Bishop devised a system which wasn't based on the occult side, but on actually the power extraction and how taking power and how infiltrating other secret societies. So it was basically a very pragmatic system, but a very effective one that then was later used by other secret societies, which we call part of the Illuminati network.
Very good. And this is exactly what I'm glad you to say that, because guys, the Illuminati, it's something that the secret society that they've been controlling governments and the world, it's something very ancient. It is not just from 1776, but right. We have this new form that now, pragmatically, as you said, they've been trying to infiltrate governments. Now, that was just the part that we know. There is so much that we don't know. But there are different secret societies out there that is not like just the name Illuminati. It could be the Skull and Bones, like we know very well in the United States, many people like, the Bushes, or, we have Dick Cheney, and we have other politicians like Kerry, former Senator Kerry, they are part of it. Then there are different other groups like, the Bilderbergs. There are different type of organizations that could be others, like, for example, the Masons. The Masons have been infiltrated. And there were letters from George Washington, for people who does not believe. If you do not believe, George Washington wrote letters in his correspondence that said that we've been infiltrated, because Masonry before was somehow different, or at least it wasn't still infiltrated in America by this group. What is their goal at the end? To control humanity, and also, as you said, there is a different level, like a spiritual level, to serve a dark force. Is Lucifer their final goal, to serve Lucifer? Question. According to the book that I read from...
I would say to serve Satan, because Lucifer is quite mild compared to serving Satan.
Wow, so they're two different, exactly, they're two different things.
There is also a hierarchy of demons that they're serving, and Lucifer plays a little bit of a double game here. Mm-hmm. He's not always on the side of Satan, and can at times betray him, while instead the Satanist is Satanist. A Satanist is totally and completely devoted to evil, and doesn't even enjoy the prerogative that there might be also the possibility of engaging in good. He's just devoted to evil. And these people, because of their love for matter, for a materialistic reality, have corrupted, of course, the Freemasons. They have corrupted many other secret societies, but the Church of Rome in all this has a lot of say, because all of this was followed during the centuries by the Jesuits, who methodically infiltrated these secret societies, and the whole thing in turn came up to two power players in this structure, which are a little bit the two power players of the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago. On one side, the emperor, the Empire of Rome, on the other, the Jews. And then there was Jesus who was sent on the cross. There is not really any difference nowadays. There is, instead of the Empire of Rome, the Vatican. Yeah. And the Jesuits represent this. Another thing that many people don't know, but it would be interesting to say, say is that within the Vatican, the Pope is called, and this was written by a priest called Marinelli, who wrote that excellent book signed by Millenari, Via col Vento in Vaticano, saying that the Pope is called the Pharaoh within the Vatican walls. So that's his real name, the Pharaoh, like in ancient Egypt.
Wow. This is interesting. I didn't know that. Listen, this is so important, guys, because you think maybe this is just some hocus pocus. It's not. This is why things are happening in our reality. You know, we are just at the bottom of the pyramids, according to their beliefs, and they're like architects. They are like the great architects. That they try to set the rules and the directions where humanity is going. And correct me if I'm wrong always. The point is, you know, we are going towards global tyranny. If to make it simple, what's happening now, it is not just happening in America, it's happening everywhere around the world. We are becoming a new prison without, you know, cages. You know, there are no bars, but we are living a new digital and virtual jail where our rights, they're being completely destroyed, and it will become more and more. And now everything happening to us, from the food we eat, the air we can breathe, and of course the school education system that is some sort of a reprogramming the minds of our youth. And more important, the human rights, individual rights that we're supposed to have as a human being, and now, of course, as an Americans, that's been destroyed mathematically, systematically, and it's been planned. Now, how do they work? They work at different levels. They have, of course, the enforcers, you know, as you were saying, these different top brass military or secret services that they can pretty much, you know, decide if you live or die, and there is license to kill, as you were saying. So they are the enforcers, you know, that's how they operate in this dimension. Then there are, of course, correct me if I'm wrong always, these top echelons of politicians. To control a nation, you don't need to control 100 million people. All you need to do is control maybe a few dozens of high-level politicians. And can you tell me, can you verify that almost every politician in key positions, like presidents or like first ministers, they are part of this network?
They're part of this network simply because they are blackmailable, so they are used like everybody else. I mean, they are not at the top of it and the ultimate players. There is people like Kissinger, maybe, who is a power player for real and was also a politician, but not everybody is Kissinger. But you have people like, of course, Rockefeller, the various Rothschild, people from the banking community, the Warburg family, and other families that have much more power than these politicians. They are just puppets. Exactly. I mean, there is weapon dealers or even more weapon makers that have more power at the worldwide level. Yeah. So, of course, the power structure is made up also of old aristocracy, royalty, especially the English royalty is still a very important part of all this, but any kind of royalty from all over the world, they created then a sort of Masonic structure that was not so clearly Masonic, but it is in a way. I mean, of course, people don't wear the aprons or the whole show, but the United Nations is an emanation of of Freemasonry, the way it's been constructed, crafted, and then, of course, then is served to you in a way that this is the New World Order crafted by Freemasonry. There might be a good side to it, but unfortunately then there is the prevailing bad side because these powerful lobbies, which include also the Church, of course, as we said, the Vatican, and of course the Zionist lobby, but then we have other players, but these are the main ones who are really powerful. Then you have, of course, China. China has been for 500 years collaborating with the Jesuits, so they have a long history also. But they are, let's say, if we had to say who are the three main players at the moment, I would say China for sure is one of them. And then you have the Zionists and the Vatican. Wow. In all this, then we have a little bit of contrast on the side from the Orthodox Church. But Putin is more or less playing the game because he has made a great impression, and he's been working closely with the Zionist lobby lately with some meetings with the rabbis, and he constructed this big mosque in Moscow. Of course, Putin has a different view of the New World Order. So now here, let's say this, that with Putin and Obama, we see the two different views of the New World Order taking place. It's not that one is the New World Order, the other one isn't. Yeah. It's just two different visions of the New World Order. So one wants to do it the one way, the other one wants to do it the other way. What can I say? I mean, of course, I prefer the Putin way. Why? Because it is the way of the man. I'm a man, and I'm happy to be a man, and I like to be a man. I mean, and Putin is 100% a man in what he does. He defends a church, which is the Orthodox Church, that doesn't compromise like the Vatican. The Vatican has compromised because being infiltrated, being manipulated by the Jesuits and by also the occult Masonic and Theosophical lobby, they are basically becoming a New Age church.
Yeah, it's a New Age. The goal is also this global government to have a global one religion. And that's what the Pope is being pretty much advocating. And, and I say something, I don't care if you're Catholic, I don't care if you're Muslim. This is not a show about religion. It's a show about freedom of religion. You can do whatever you want. The only thing I say, though, be sure that you know what you're doing. Because if you think you're serving Christ and you're going after following the orders, because after all, let's not forget, the Catholic Church is a theocracy. I mean, people understand that, maybe don't know, but the Pope is not just somebody dressed in white acting like a Pope. No, technically it's the king. It's a theocracy. It's a government. And that's one of the reasons why I could not be part anymore. I refuse to bow down to any king. But more important, this man that now is professing himself that the Catholic Church always said, correct me if I'm wrong, the Pope is infallible. He doesn't make mistake. And more important is the spokesperson for God. So when the Pope speaks, it's like God is speaking, if you believe in him. This man now is serving an agenda that is not for Christ. And just think about it. This speech at the United Nations, he never mentioned the word Christ, but just to almost put him down when said Christ fell on the cross. I mean,
during his own visit, Jesus has been marginalized, and actually in Congress he gave instead the scene to Moses, because Moses is this prophet common to all three religions, to all three Abrahamic faiths, and it was much more acceptable, and he wanted to really be in this way following his one-world religion, implementation by talking only about Moses, And that was okay, because the moment he says Moses, then the Muslim couldn't attack him because they recognize Moses. And the same thing with the Jews couldn't attack them because, of course, Moses is their prophet. And so basically this was the whole, it was in front of our eyes, really, the delegitimization of Christ, and then the fact that they let in Madison Square Garden Mass, the first reading was then given to that guy who is a homosexual guy. Nothing against homosexual, but this guy is an homosexual activist.
Yeah.
And to actually make him read the opening lecture in front of the Pope is completely out of, it's just like a church giving to everything that was prophesied against it. And it's, in a way, the church is fulfilling its own negative prophecies that were given by its own saints, even, and visionaries during the course of the last 2 centuries, because they said the word over and over again that this will happen. How Padre Pio, the man with the stigmata, opposed very much Freemasonry, and had his own guy, this priest, who he made him infiltrate the Vatican in order to discover where this Freemasonry was positioned within the Vatican. And this happened not so long ago, but it was since 1950s really that the Vatican was corrupted fully, because before still the Vatican was a Catholic reality. You could have liked it, you could have not liked it, okay?
Yes, exactly.
The Jesuits were doing the thing they always did, being Jesuits, but it was probably the fact that the Jesuits came back into the Vatican after being kicked out that then motivate them to create some alliances that were never done before, like the one in the 1950s with Israel and with the Freemasonry that arrived in the Vatican with various lodges, and of course the whole of the church was then it's irreparable, the damage that was done.
Leo, the time is going fast. I need to ask you some questions first. You wrote a book, Pope Francis, the Last Pope, ? available on Amazon. I invite everybody to buy so you can verify. You say something very powerful things here, the connection with the Jesuits, with the Masonry and secret society. I mean, you must have some source that you can verify, and that's why I can't wait to read the book. But the question is, you think this Pope is really the last Pope?
The last Pope of Catholicism, yes, because Catholic religion, renouncing to the cross, renouncing to Jesus, and embracing the one-world religion, will not be anymore the church we know. So he's the last Pope. After this, the church will be something different from what we know these days. We are going towards a one-world religion very fast, at a very fast pace. So you understand that the figure of the Pope will be negative if it will be on top of other religion, like, he's bringing himself down, because like he did from the beginning of his installation when he was elected in 2013, he called himself bishop, not pope.
Wow.
Okay, so he is basically making himself voluntarily less and less a threat to the other Christian churches that then embrace him more and more. That's why now he has managed there where other popes have failed, like Ratzinger, who was much more conservative, to gain terrain and bring back to the church even the most evangelical or far-out faction. The Jesuits for hundreds of years have been infiltrating every single Christian faction or every single sect, Satanist or anything. So they know exactly, scientifically, how to do this. And their idea is in the end to constitute a one-world religion, but they can't, put on top of everybody the Pope like the supreme divine being. So the divinity of the Pope itself has been diminished by making Ratzinger resign and putting, while still Ratzinger is still living, we still have another Pope, but he's not there any longer. And now we have this Jesuit. And this Jesuit is basically gradually transforming the church in something different. So he is the last Pope. That's it. And also there is a lot of prophecies that I talk about in my book, Pope Francis the Last Pope, on CCC Publishing, that you can find also at Barnes & Noble, as well as Amazon. Because in Pope Francis the Last Pope, I bring to the table, all the various prophecies, both the recognized ones and the not recognized ones, and I must say, Gianluca, that we are really going towards an incredible time in history, because these prophecies are literally materializing in front of our eyes.
Yes.
And it's incredible. So to be living in this day and age is quite something extraordinary.
Yeah, I would like to say something. For all the listeners, say, okay, what do we do? First of all, this is my opinion, okay? Knowledge is power. At least we must know what's going on. Otherwise, if we don't know the system, we'd never have a chance to fix it. But there is also a point, as you said, these are prophecies, okay? There are something maybe we cannot do. But as a human being, as a free human being, or at least I'm trying to be free, one thing I want to try to do, I will try everything, because regardless, even just talking about this, exposing this reality, I think we have the duty, the obligation to our fellow humans to at least do our part. Sometimes silent, not sometimes, always we know silent is consent. And maybe we may not win this battle in this dimension. But at the end of the day, I believe we will be judged in another dimension. And the fact that now, here we stand, you doing your job, try to inform us, try to give us this sort of information, and other people try to expose it and fight at different levels. We got to do everything we can to expose them and defeat it. Even if we fail, even if the prophecy, if for a moment we will fail, the point is, at the end of the day, we will still win. Because at least we try to do everything we could. That's what I would like to say. And for practical purposes, at the end of the day, one thing we should do, every man that we're running for office, we know very well, every politician can be part of this scheme. The elite uses governments, uses politicians for their sort of a master plan. They are the lower levels. As you said, politicians, they're just like an upper management. They are not the owners. But we need to start to talk straight to them. Know that we know this game, that we expose them. That would be the first thing. This is not a conspiracy. This is reality. And that's what I would like to say. If people don't believe me, I think they should at least listen, and I will play if I can later, this speech of JFK, President Kennedy, about secret societies. That's not a conspiracy. I'm sure you're familiar with that speech about President Kennedy about the dangers of secret society, correct?
Sure. I mean, it was done just before he died.
Exactly. So that's the reality. Now, time is getting short. I want to say one more question, then I want to let you know whatever you want to say. First of all, how many levels that you know are in the Masonry that we are aware to know? How many levels we got there on Masons? From 1 to what, 33 or more?
Well, that is not really the important thing, to tell you the truth, because Freemasonry has various rites. The basic thing is the order that is common to everybody. So you have 3 degrees, which brings you to the mastership, so you become a master mason. Okay. And then there is various kind of rites. There is the ancient accepted Scottish rite that has 33 degrees, but there is also the rites of Memphis and Mizraim that go up to 90 and 95 and 97 and so on. These kind of rites are not recognized by regular Freemasonry in the US, but they are recognized by regular Freemasonry, for example, in Russia, which has constituted since 2010 or 2011, I think, sovereign sanctuary of the Egyptian rites in the new era of regularizing even a rite which in America is being forbidden by the CIA because they practice it in the secret of their irregular lodges. Wow, so there is one thing to say, that from Freemasonry, most of the elite of the Illuminati gets dragged into other sects and other secret societies that are much more powerful. Those are the ones which we commonly refer as to the Illuminati. Not strictly Freemasonry. Maybe the only Illuminati part of Freemasonry that we can refer to as being Illuminati in Freemasonry is the occult Freemasonry.
Got it.
Occult Freemasonry is the Egyptian rites, some high-level Scottish rite that have been very much into the occult also, but then you have Martinist order, you have the Ordo Temporientis, you have many others, and they are part of a very intricate realm. Most of them have a kind of connection with each other at one point or the other. So once you are in one, you kind of realize a little bit better how the network is constituted. From outside it's very difficult. That's why I invite you to study my book, Confessions, Volume 1.
Yes.
Because that book in particular, I include a document called Sheet 51, which is a topology of the secret society and the way each one operates in then infiltrating each other, operating, with the bigger ones, the smaller ones, the religious ones, the non-religious ones. All of this has never really been explained to people out there. That's why I would like people to go and get this book as soon as they can, because it will open to them a completely new reality, Gianluca.
Perfect. So guys, please, if you want to learn about this, we have the opportunity. Go to Amazon or anywhere you can. You can buy your books, Confessions of an Illuminati by Leo-Zagami. I will post also a link on my website. And why I'm doing this, because I really think it's important to understand who is behind all this. And we have today the opportunity from an insider to learn all this. Leo-Zagami, I really appreciate you, and I really, I'm honored to talk to you, and you have a lot of courage, I tell you. Things like that, they are not a game, guys. This is not a movie. This is real. Leo, thank you very much. You have 30 seconds. You can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
30 seconds, I can say whatever we want. Well, that's a good thing. I would like people to read my books that are available for the first time in English by CCC Publishing in San Francisco. This courageous publisher that finally is bringing out my books in the US. The first one was Pope Francis the Last Pope ? The other one is Confessions of the Illuminati Volume 1, All the Truth About the New World Order. And then, of course, we will have Volume 2 to make you realize what's going to happen from here to 2020. And so I'm trying to give you an insight behind the curtains of history. I hope that you appreciate that, and I thank you very much for your hospitality, Luca, in your show, Mr. Zanna, and I want to say bye-bye to all the listeners, and thank you again for having me here.
Hope I'll see you in Rome one of these days. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Guys, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network.
A couple of decades ago, Australia had a mass shooting, similar to Columbine or Newtown. And Australia just said, well, that's it. We're not seeing that again. And basically imposed very severe, tough gun laws, and they haven't had a mass shooting since.
Okay, you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States of the FM network. Second hour, it's all about guns. You know, intentionally, last Sunday, I didn't want to talk about this Oregon shooting. You know, I have a lot of listeners told me, why don't you talk about it? We can wait to hear what you have to say. First of all, thank you very much. I'm just a regular person, but yes, I would like to give you my opinion. I wanted to wait, though. I wanted to wait because, you know, I don't like to waste time and airtime on things that really, they make no sense. You know, everybody now can say whatever they want. That's fine. We can speculate about if this is true or not true. And I know there is a lot of reservation about all these events. Even, you know, I mean, bless his heart, I like his movies. Even, of course, it's kind of funny. Steven Seagal, you know, even Steven Seagal said that many of these shootings, especially at schools, they are government engineered. We know that for sure. One thing, they've been used politically. These bastards, politicians, I don't care which party, they can't even wait the bodies, they're still cold. I mean, they still, when the body's still moving, they're on the ground. They already jump on their microphones, and the Hillary, and the Obama, and all these bastards, filthy rats, disgusting pieces of sewer garbage. They can wait even for the respect of the victims to jump and continue their political agendas. That's the fact. About the conspiracy that could happen or not, I don't know. I know for sure there are a lot of questions that needs to be answered, like a Sandy Hook. But that's not the point. No, I don't want to waste airtime debating you, liberal fascist. Because you think you're liberal. No, you are not liberal. Maybe you don't know. You are Nazi. National Socialist, and you, any one of you listening to this show right now, will still support that piece of filth, subhuman fishes, called Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. You are worse than a Nazi or fascist. Because at least the fascists, you know what, they had the balls to go out there and do their dirty deeds. If they wanted to get people's guns, they had the balls to go. I remember in Italy stories, you know, they come in the middle of the night, they break your door, they beat you up. At least they do the dirty jobs. You cowards, worms, liberals, that you call yourself liberals, but you are like wannabe Nazis, but you don't have the balls. But you have to hide behind the government, to use Mama or Big Daddy Obama. Take their guns, because you're so coward, you're so spineless, you're such a jellyfish that you cannot even do that to your job. If you want to come and take my guns, I'm here. So now let me tell you about now. I wanted to wait a week to briefly talk about this Oregon shooting. Because the point is, there is no point. I do not debate my rights, especially with you, subhuman zombies. If you think I'm going to debate my Bill of Rights with you, you are completely wrong. I'm not even going to waste my airtime. I give you now the shortest gun control debate you ever get, because that's all you deserve. You want my guns? I have guns. I'm not going to give them to you. This is the end of debate. Now you do the next move. Come and take him. Look, the gun is here. Lock and load it. You want to do gun confiscation? You want to do gun registration? Come on, next move. End of the debate. I do not debate my First Amendment with you, wanna-be Nazis. I don't debate my Second Amendment. I don't debate my Third Amendment. I don't debate anything because you're not worth it. You are just spineless cowards. Go back to Obama and go kiss his ass. And go say, oh, he got guns. Guess so? Well, let's now, just for the sake of, since I have a talk show to fill up here, let me give you just for entertainment, some of my views. Why you're so mentally paralytic and so mentally unstable that you deserve to get locked up. And your logic about try to confiscate or try to registrate or try to legislate more of these gun laws, gun control laws, you are insane. Number one, this bastard acting as a president, this imposter, Mr. Obama, he's right there right now saying that he doesn't need Congress. He's going to go around Congress. He's going to do executive orders. If you agree with that, I don't care where we are on this issue. You are a Nazi. Because this guy is acting as a freaking tyrant that he is. Right there, you proved my point. You support Obama and this going around Congress, you are a freaking Nazi. Piece of filth. Number one. Right there. Number two, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people. Okay? So it's my right. Like my First Amendment right. Like the Third Amendment right. So the bottom line here, guess what? You got a big problem here. If you really want to change it, you got to go through the Constitutional Congress and Convention, and everything else says the Constitution, and it still wouldn't fly, because this is a God-given right. The Bill of Rights doesn't give me any rights, it just enunciates the rights. You understand that? Now, Obama, we know that after these other shooting in Oregon, immediately start to mention the magic word. Australia, England. They don't want gun registration. They don't even want, of course, that's the first step. They don't want gun, restrictions. They want gun confiscation, because it's the dream of every freaking tyrant. That's what they want. Now, just because I'm trying to be nice, I'm trying to control myself, even you don't deserve it, pieces of filth, wannabe Nazi, call yourself liberal, I call you liberal fascist, at least anybody who support Obama, I know it's gonna probably irritate you, I don't give a damn. You are a liberal Nazi, national socialist, and you have this piece of filth that you call president, that you put yourself like he's God. He's not God. Just a piece of garbage. Seriously. Now, back to the point. As I said, I do not debate rights, but let me just give you a little bit of story. First of all, if you really want to be logic, and I try to be logic with zombies like yourself, it's kind of hard. Let's start to look at the facts. All these big shooting or massacre, whatever you want to call them, happen in gun-free zones, So if I want to blame somebody, let's blame on the government or blame on the institutions or these schools or these universities. They created these pretty much sitting duck zones. That's what they are. Even a child, even my dogs understand that if you put an environment that not even a security guard, like in Oregon, didn't have a gun, that's a perfect place for a scumbag to make, himself famous. That's the bottom line. So right there, big problem. Gun-free zone, sorry, that stupid sign is not going to stop a criminal. All it's going to stop law-abiding people to defend themselves. So you are there wrong, unless you're completely stupid. Number two, let's not talk about the medication, I know probably most of the commercial networks or stations, we can talk about that. What type of drugs, psychodrugs, these pieces of filth they were on? All of them, the last 20 years at least, they were all on some psychodrugs. So this is not a problem about, gun control, or this is not about guns. This is not even about, people with mental diseases. No, this is about freaking psychodrugs. Thanks to the FDA, the mafia from the government that approves these big pharma psychodrugs. That's all they're doing, unfortunately. They're creating big serial killers out there. That's a fact. So let's talk about that. We should talk about that. Then also let's talk about statistics, I know you don't follow, you can count statistics, but the FBI statistics just come out. This is from the FBI under the Obama administration, of course, that, we got less crime. More guns, less crime. I don't want to waste my time to give you the numbers. You don't deserve this. Go find out yourself. As I said, I do not debate my rights. You can cry wherever you want. The gun is here. Look. You hear it. So, that's simple. End of the debate. You want to get my guns? And like me, by the way, there are millions of people. And I'm just a regular, immigrant, former immigrant with an accent. So think about what a real red-blooded American probably had his father or grandfather fighting in World War II, or maybe fighting the Nazis, or maybe just, being part of the Civil War or Revolutionary War, and they got roots deep your butt. You think they're gonna, I'm just a regular guy, not even born here, and I'm telling you, I give you the middle finger. You wanna get my guns? That's the day it's gonna start World War III here. It's not gonna happen. As they say, ain't gonna happen. Okay? I'm learning this slang. I love it. So that's the bottom line. End of debate. End of debate. Now, what is this guy, the Oregon shooter? I don't know. Nobody really knows. Because they tell you what they want to tell you. All I know that Obama is a piece of filth. That's a fact. And most of these victims, they told them to stay home. In Oregon, more than 10,000 people stay home. Don't come here with the dirty face. Go back to Kenya and leave us alone. Because you're part of the problem. And by the way, this is the dream of every tyrant. In the history of humanity, if you look about it, Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, Mussolini, all of them, what they wanted, Mao Zedong, they wanted their subjects completely disarmed. Now you useful idiots, because you are useful idiots, unfortunately you're so stupid you can't even see it straight, that you support still this piece of filth called Obama. I'm telling you something. What if after is going to be the next president is going to be a Republican? That's going to be doing the same things Obama does, of course, as a fascist, as a warmonger, bombing and drumming the crap out of everybody, and the National Defense Authorization Act with this provision of indefinite detention, that if it was Bush doing that, you would freak out. But now because this Obama is your guy, everything's cool. Because after all, this guy is brown, and he's a Democrat. Democrat, yes. You're idiots. You're so idiots, seriously. Don't get me wrong, I'm not smart either. I guess tell you, compared to you, I'm a genius. That's a fact. So anyway, I'm gonna spare you the statistics, what happened really in England after the total gun ban, England is the number one world for violent crimes. 2,034 people for 100,000 people instead America. After all, with all these millions of guns, it's number one in the world for gun ownership, 88 for every 100 people, and it's not even in the top 10 countries in the world for violent crimes. Okay, 466 for every 100,000 people. But more important, this is the right. Now, let's talk about the collectivist sense of guilt, you piece of scum. Because you really like to hide behind the collectivists. You think, we are all collectivists. Guess what? If somebody does a car accident, I'm trying just to be reasoning with you. I'm trying to control myself. That's why I got one here. Otherwise, I would snap, really. You have no idea how I feel. Let me calm down. Let's try to be logical. Okay, for a moment, we talk. Last night, probably around America, in our 50 states, I don't know, many thousands of people die in a car accident. Many of them probably they were under the influence of drugs or maybe DUI. Damn it, they were drinking wine. Wow. Now, because maybe 30,000 people during Labor Day weekend had a car accident, should we now ban all cars? Or should we ban all alcohol? Because some few idiots made a mistake? No, I'm not guilty for somebody else's responsibilities or crimes. Let's put it this way. So, more people are dying of bees, being stung by bees, than be killed by a weapon in America. And look at Chicago, idiots. The most gun-restricting laws, or Washington, D.C., the number one gun control laws, the highest crime in the nation. So, your logic really makes no sense. And by the way, there are a lot of good Democrats out there that I know they are good on the Second Amendment. Don't get me wrong. But that's unfortunately almost the old generation. And don't get me wrong, I don't even side with the Republicans, because they're a bunch of Republicans, they're paid off, sold out pigs. Okay? That's a fact. So this is not a partisan issue. I'm not trying to bash Democrats and prop up Republicans. For me, they are both filthy somehow at different levels. This is about some sort of people out there that really still have hams on their eyes, or they're really so stupid, like the useful idiots voting for bastards and supporting like somebody like Obama. They don't understand what it's doing now. This is the final stage to take over this country. They want our guns. Because then they can take your pensions. They can take your properties. They can implement Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, whatever they want. As simple as that. So I'm not going to waste any more time about this Oregon shooting. I'm sure you heard enough through the news. There are, of course, also some other questions that we don't know. What really happened? I have no idea. All I know that what these politicians are doing, yes, I know. They have an agenda. They want us all disarmed, because so we can be completely their prey. That's what I'm not going to do. And I'm not going to debate with you, pigs. Fascist, liberal pigs. This is the gun. Grow up some balls. Don't go to Papa, Obama, get their guns. Oh, here's a gun. Guess what? This is Arizona. Screw you. Before you get our guns, we're going to start civil war here. I'm telling you. I speak for myself, of course. I got news for you. I know enough people that they think like me. Enough. All right. Let me calm down. Now, let's go back to our business. Wow. First of all, something that really should give you a motivation to buy not a gun, a rifle, if it's possible, pretty soon. This new announcement from the Obama administration, exactly from Justice of Department, to have now this international police force, a global force, to go under, after, the extreme. The extreme. Wow. This is scary, Don't forget about nationalizing police. That's one of the most important things of this country, America, is the separation of powers and, of course, also the centralization of powers. Even an immigrant like myself can understand that. Exactly different from any other part of the world, like there is a centralized police force. That means if you ever had a centralization of power, you have more corruption. And you have no way to escape from tyranny. Instead, when you have decentralization, you have a chance to at least to have some freedom. That's the bottom line. So anyway, Obama said, forget about centralization of police as the United States police. No, we go deeper now. We're going to announce at the UN a global police force to fight extremism in U.S. city. This is going to be a global police force, since probably not many American cops will comply with this act of fascism. That's why they need to get now the new international fascist police. And what did they say extreme now? Extreme just means that just somebody doesn't go along with their global socialist agenda. Somebody like myself who does not believe in the United Nations, or I believe in sovereignty, I believe in constitution, I believe in freedom, I believe in property rights, I believe in gun rights, I believe I can tell you, screw you, Obama, I have a freedom of speech. That's what they call extreme. Fine. Let them rip it off. Let's go. As I said, we're not going to live forever. I'm not a hero, I'm not a combat vet, I'm just a regular guy. And guess what? That should really freak you out. If a regular guy like me, that is so mad and irritated and ready to put everything on the line, and everything I fought hard and worked hard for, to even, just let it go. Because my freedom, my dignity is more important than anything else. If we don't have freedom, we're not going to have anything else. And I had to go back at night, look at myself in the mirror. I'm an American after all. I cannot just say, I'm an American, I'm living in the land of the free. No, I need to really uphold this oath that I took when I became an American. So it's my duty. And I know it's your duty too, because you're going to do it for your sons and daughters. So, screw you, Obama. Screw you, your global police force. You can shove it up your ass. That's my basic bottom line. And I know there are some listeners out there that are so worshipping that piece of filth, Obama, and they get so mad when I call him names. Guess what? Change channel. If you don't like it, change freaking channel. What's wrong with you? Are you obsessed with me? We're not married. You don't need to listen to me. Anyway, let's talk about news. Now, there is a great event in Lakeside, Arizona. East part of Arizona. Great place. Restoring America's Heritage. Constitutional Arms Expo and Rally. When? The 16th, 17th, and 18th of October 2015. Friday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 9 to 3 p.m. Where? At 727 Woodland Road, Building D, Lakeside. 727 Woodland Road, Building D, Lakeside. Anyway, this is a great event. Why? This is not just a gun show. This is a very constitutional gun show. We are in Arizona, after all. If you're here, we don't need no background checks. By the way, this idea of the background check is ridiculous, even if I don't need to entertain you because you're too stupid to understand and talk to me. But guess what? Let me tell you. The criminals don't buy guns at the stores, morons. They don't buy guns with background check. They buy guns off the black market. Okay? That's the bottom line. But anyway, guess what? Anyway, this is a great event. It's going to be people buying and selling and trading freely as a free Americans, guns and everything in between. Okay? Guess what? Great. Be there. You can buy everything you want. Enjoy it. It's freedom. No background checks. I love it. I may be there too. And there are also some great politicians. I call them statesmen because politicians for me is a bad word. Statesmen. Coming also from out of state of Washington. Anyway, so guys, that's the point. It's time to stand up. Now, some proactive things, after, let's not focus about this gun control. Seriously, they can do whatever they want. Obama can say he's God. I'm going to really laugh at him. I can laugh at him. I can laugh at everybody else. They can say, we have to jump. Are you going to jump? No, I'm not going to jump. It's millions of us. Let them show that we are not going to jump like dogs. So what we can do now, we need to start to prepare. Now, this week, I had a moment that I wanted to buy a gun as an emotional response after this Oregon shooting and Obama going, in this completely disgusting mode that he needs to tell us, we need to feel sorry, gun owners are so bad. Guess what? I'm going to buy another gun. So I had this idea. Maybe I say, let me think. Normally I carry Glocks. I love Glocks. People say, I don't like Glocks. I understand. Probably there are better guns out there, but it works for me, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is not a competition. You like whatever you like. I don't care. All I care that we all, as Americans, able to shoot straight, and the enemy is in front of us. Simple as that. Now, I like Glocks because they're simple. They're easy to find parts, and I like the magazines, affordables, aftermarket parts. I like the idea that it's a very instinctive gun. I don't need to worry about decocking or about, safety. The finger is my safety. My mind is my safety. So I love Glocks. They're accurate. I can do everything I want with a Glock. But the bottom line is, my gun, let's not forget, it is just the tool allows me to get my rifle. Because a gun is just for personal defense. It's a reactive weapon. I'm not going to, defend my freedom with a gun. I defend my freedom with a rifle. Okay, you ever heard anybody winning a war with a handgun? No, it's not going to happen. But it's a good tool. I carry this with me every day. And I'm not 5 rounds away from my rifle. That's the bottom line. So, the big question was to be or not to be. That's the dilemma. I wanted to get another gun, just to piss them off. Just to piss off these spineless jellyfish liberals that they call liberals, but they're fascists. Because they're crying. Because like CNN says, we must get our guns. We don't need a Second Amendment. You know what? Screw you. The right of the people to keep and bear arms exists. You want it or not. Okay? Anyway. So my big question was, am I going to buy a 226 or a Beretta 92? The upgraded version with a rail. It's a new world for me. Normally I have a CZ75 for the cocking type of gun. And I love him. It's a great gun. CZ75, I think it's a great accurate gun. But, I love the Glocks. I don't know. Simple. I like the magazines and I like the holsters and everything else. But I wanted just to buy another gun. The problem was, after all, I was going to spend between $850 for my 6.226, the one I wanted, 9mm. The fancy version, Navy SEAL, whatever, or another $650 for my Beretta. And then what? And then I have to think that I need to buy at least 20 magazines. I don't call them high capacities, I call them standard capacity, but still 20 mags. Yeah, I'm obsessed. Every time I have a gun, at least I need to have at least 20 mags. Otherwise, it's not going to work for me. So anyway, 20 mags. Then I need to get a holster. So I say, you know what? Why do I need another gun? I have so many guns. I don't know. I don't want to say on the air how many Glocks I have, but, I have more Glocks than my fingers, okay? And I like them. And I'm practical with that. And I'm pretty trained with that. I don't want to start to retrain. And why should I spend an extra $1,000 for a tool? After all, it's not even the main tool. So I stopped my impulsive buyer instinct, and I say, you know what? And this is something I would like to share with you also as an advice, a friendly tip, not an advice. I'm just a regular guy. Don't focus too much on the gun. Focus on the rifle. There were right now, for example, this week before, of course, this Oregon shooting happened, incredible deals on AR-15. I mentioned to you last Sunday, the Center Fire Systems had an incredible deal for less than $400. An AR-15 Delton, or whatever it's called. Centerfiresystems.com. Probably they're gone. So think about it. If you had to spend $1,000 or so for a handgun, unless you really have a lot of money, and that's great, bless you. If you got a lot of money in this economy, I'm so proud of you. Buy everything you can. Fine. But for me, when I can spend $500 for a handgun that I know is solid, is reliable, is accurate, and it does the job, I'm plenty with that. I'm not here for showing off at the range. I'm here to be ready. Let's put it this way. So whatever guns you have, fine. So I said, you know what, instead of buying an extra $1,000 of gun and accessories and magazine, I'm going to buy the equivalent money in the caliber of ammunition of my favorite rifle. 308, 7.62x51. Simple as that. That was my choice. That was pretty much I wanted to share, because that's part of the training. This is part of the mindset. Try to prioritize. Because, times are tough, and you do not want to get, stuck in spending money where I believe, unless, as I said, if you have a lot of money, that's fine. You can spend $2,000 for a Kimber. Great. That's your gun. You love it. Excellent. Excellent choice. But if you don't have a rifle yet, and you say, wait, I need to wait 6 months before I buy a rifle. Wait a moment. Before you spend all the money on a handgun, get the rifle first. Get the ammunition. Get the training first. That's the most important thing. Now, in the second part of this hour, we have incredible opportunity for all Glock shooters, because I try to find in this show also opportunities to give you training ideas. I know it's difficult to share training over on the air. After all, this is just a radio show, okay? But I believe really that the purpose is try to give you places and ideas and hints where you can get what you need and can get more important training. So we have a great opportunity how to save thousands of dollars training with a Glock from home, okay? Without wasting ammunition. It's a great tool. I have another thing I like about my Glocks, that there are, of course, out there a lot of ideas how to, for example, the SIRT gun, SIRTE, SIRTE, whatever you call it. This sort of it's like a tactical training gun. It's a not real gun. It's a training tool. And it's great. You got a laser and it fits in your holster. It's like a Glock 17 or Glock 22. It's a great gun. But few $100 out there almost costs you almost like a real gun. And the problem that you don't have, if I want to be honest with that, and I'm honest, you cannot rack your slide. So, great tool to use the laser for home training in a very safe environment. CERT, I need to do a YouTube about it, and I will do it. But at the same time, I say, first of all, not everybody has $300 to buy a gun, a simulated gun like that, just for training. And then also say, wow, one thing I don't like, I was hoping they would do it. You cannot rack the slide. So when I have to do, for example, let's say training with emergency reloads, emergency reloads, or even just, rounding the chamber, things like that, you cannot do that. Defeat the purpose of dry practice completely. Even, of course, it's a great tool, don't get me wrong. But anyway, I found this great product that I will talk to you in a few minutes that I really think for a fraction of the price can give you a great opportunity of training. So guys, this is the situation. We are coming, unfortunately, to a moment that is the moment of the truth. How many Americans will stand up for freedom, for our Constitution, for our Bill of Rights? And they try to push us in a moment that slowly, they don't want anymore any one of us armed. Look what happened in San Francisco just a few days ago. The last gun shop in San Francisco closed. Because unfortunately governments, doesn't matter, the agenda is the same. If it's state, local, city level, when they go in that type of mindset of tyranny, that's what they want. And of course San Francisco, we know, is not about freedom. They're a bunch of control freaks. That's what they are. So, they were able to close through local legislation and harassment the last store in San Francisco. It's very sad. I believe really California is gone. It's completely gone. And I hope I'm wrong, but unfortunately I say, all the Californians listeners, you have two options now. Or stand there and fight back, or just to immigrate to Arizona. As simple as that. Here we go, guys. Second hour, Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This is the hour about guns. This show, it is not for entertainment purposes. When we talk about guns, it is not just about, let's talk about that gun, let's review that gun. No, this is about real stuff. Okay, for me, the only goal I really have is to have as many law-abiding citizens out there in this republic to be armed and trained with the right mindset. That's the goal. And I understand, I'm not an instructor. I'm not here over the radio. I cannot give you the knowledge of this art, okay, and science. But I can give you at least the hints, the input, how to find good training. Because this is something that now, even for people that they thought, that's never going to happen here in America. After all, we are safe. First of all, you're never safe because, beside God, nobody's going to protect you. Seriously, you know very well, the police, they don't live with you, they don't sleep with you, and honestly, most of the times, I'm sorry, I think you're better off by yourself, but that's another story. We gotta start to understand that it's your responsibility, as a man or as a woman, to take care of yourself, take care of your family, number one. And of course, then if you can, you help also others. The idea is to help each other. As a good people, we want to help each other. But my goal is, if you have a gun, you know very well that's a big responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility. So don't think just because you bought the latest gun out there or the latest shotgun out there, you think now you're done. No, that's just the beginning of your journey. You got trained. You have to train. And I'm trying to find here new ideas, new solutions to try to share with you that they can empower you to become a better gun owner. Simple as that. And I bring you the experts, because I'm just a professional student. That's what I am. I'm very humble. I like to go out there and I study and try to learn from everybody. That's my goal. But I want to bring you people who are here and do this as a profession, as a living. So I call them expert. One of them is one great guy. I really like him. On top, we're on the same side on many issues, and that's very important, because I have on this show people that normally I agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. But when I have people that also we share the same values, I call them brothers. Brothers and sisters in freedom. His name is Cope Reynolds from Arizona. Cope, are you there?
Brother Zanna, I am here. How are you doing today?
Very good, Brother Cope. How's it going, man? Excellent.
Oh, we're doing okay.
Before we go ahead, and many of my listeners already know you, just give a very short story, who you are, what you do for a living, your profession as an instructor in the firearm art and science, as I call it. Go ahead.
Well, Luke, I've been a professional instructor since about 94, I believe it was, and my own Southwest Shooting Authority. We used to have a good-sized retail shop and everything, and then I got involved in some things that I probably shouldn't have. And so we've dedicated everything to training now. We are full-time training. I travel all over the country training. I'm putting together another class in Washington as we speak.
Wow.
And that's all I do now. It's my full-time job. I'm not a weekend out in the garage instructor. This is my full-time job.
Very good, very good. That's exactly what I want you here, because my goal, as you heard, I want to give to my listeners the opportunity to find the great solutions to train, to get better, and to find the right tools, And most of the times, I tell you, I don't even bring sponsors. I like to bring everything really I think it's real, that I would buy myself. Because that's the purpose of this show. I'm not trying to pander for anything, but also at this time I'm going to have some sort of a double purpose. I would like to bring a tool that every one of you, especially if you shoot and train with a Glock handgun, you may find a lot of good benefits out of this opportunity. And also at the same time, if you're going to purchase this tool through this radio show, lovegunsfreedom.com, you can support this show. And this is thanks to your help, because, you come out with this idea of this tool. Before we go ahead, and I'm going to give the rest of the story, let's remind to our listeners the importance of the concept of dry practice that has a very scientific benefit. You know, I mean, it's been tested during the during the embargo that was in South Africa in the 70s. You know the story probably that the South African army, there was an embargo. They could not get their ammunition because of the apartheid laws they had. But they tested this system to do dry practice. That means training and shooting for the different qualifications without live ammo. And they saw that they have incredible results, even better than people of the soldiers they were training with the live ammo. So can we remind a little bit the concept of dry practice and why it's so fundamental to every gun owner?
Well, Luca, dry practice, there are some people out there that say some of the people that are really, really good, like Jerry Michalak and some of those, they dry practice maybe as much as 200 or 300 times for each live round they actually fire on the range. Wow. You're developing good habits. You want to be able to dry practice in such a way that it is the same as if you were firing a live gun out on the range, and not develop any additional habits that you don't actually use when you're firing. Dry practice is, it can be used in every aspect of your life, not just guns. Everything that you do, you can practice without doing it for real in the movements and everything, and be able to develop that muscle memory, as they call it, those good habits, so that you'll just immediately default to that and fall back on that when and if the time ever comes. So dry practice is, some people say, well, if you're not shooting, I mean, what good does that do? You'd be out at the range shooting. I like to go out and make noise. What happens when you're shooting the actual gun, you get the recoil and the noise and the movement and all this stuff going on and people around you. And some of the mistakes that you make, you don't notice. You don't see them because the gun's moving anyway because of the recoil. Exactly. But you're having fun because you're going out and making noise and everything. So you're actually, they say practice makes perfect. That is not true. Perfect practice makes perfect. Exactly. You can go out and practice wrong all day long and be very good at doing it wrong. Exactly. But and also, practice perfectly. Very important what you said. It's very important. Perfect practice makes perfect, and more important also at the same time, we also live with a new equation, part of the equation, that it's economic hardship. The economy is not exactly what it used to be, and of course the price of ammo, doesn't matter, it's still going up. So let's start to make sense. In my humble journey, one thing I learned when I learned the dry practice, for every round that I shoot at the range, I do normally 10, 15 dry practice. Now, what I heard about people doing like Mikolek, doing 200 dry practice, that's going to make me even feel better. But my point is, think about it, guys. You go out, you spend your average, I don't know, $20 for a box of 50 rounds if you shoot a 40 or 45, and you realize that 50 rounds go very fast. And then, as you said, Cope, you cannot realize exactly the mistakes you're making. But what if, because, there is the combustion, the recoil, all these different factors that you cannot focus on the individual movements. Then think about it. Not only you have the benefit when you do dry practice to almost, section, step by step, every little thing that you're doing, you can analyze it. But also, you can multiply that drill. Let's say you're doing, control pair from the ready or from the holster. It doesn't matter. And you have only 50 rounds. That's going to go pretty fast. Instead, if you do, let's say, for every control pair that you shoot, for every 2 rounds that you shoot live, you do at least 20 or 30 dry practice. At the end of the day, even if you just did like 10 times dry practice, you would have shot at least like 200 rounds. Instead, then, probably just 20 rounds, So that's powerful right there. And I really think it works so much. Now, solution. You came out, or at least what I understand, you have a product that is really interesting for Glock users to create that sort of repeat trigger work that normally we cannot do with the Glock, because the Glock is not like a revolver. So, we have to rack the slide every time. So, tell me a little more about what you created, what you put together there. All right, now let me back up just real quick. Yes. Another great advantage to dry practice is I don't care how much snow's on the ground, how hard the wind's blowing, or how much it's raining, I can dry practice anytime. And I've proven this over and over and over again to students. If you can just take out of your precious schedule, if you can just take literally 5 minutes,
Yes.
3 or 4 times a week, it will help you dramatically. If you can put together 15 minutes, 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, you would be absolutely astonished.
Yes.
At the improvement that you'll show after just 1 month's time without ever firing a single shot on the range.
It is true. And by the way,
amazing.
It's a perishable skills. And I tell you something, I did a test myself intentionally, also connected to real life, personal situations I had. For a month, I didn't do no dry practice, no range time at all. Then cold turkey, I went to do the basic qualification. Normally I do the different tests. Normally I use the front sight for days handgun class that normally I do distinguish every time. Guess what? I had to push it a lot because I realized that I was getting really, really out of shape. Instead, just doing it, I did a month, not going to the range at all, but just doing some basic dry practice, as you said, even just 5 minutes a day, a few times during the week. You have, I don't know, it's almost impossible to believe, but it's true. It is true.
People, believe it or not, people dry practice a little bit every day, whether they like it or not. Mm-hmm. Every single day, when they put that gun back in the holster, that when they get up in the morning or pull it out at night, you're dry practicing.
Yes.
When you go to the bathroom and have to pull your pants down, you have to take the gun out, you're dry practicing.
Yes,
you should be doing that properly, dynamically, the same presentation that you would as if you were out on the range.
Yes.
Because you will absolutely create some bad habits by doing that if you don't do it right. If that's all the practice you're getting,
yes,
then and you're doing it wrong, then it's going to cost you.
And even, not just the handgun, by the way. I realized another thing I was falling in that trap myself a few years ago was when I was reaching for my magazine. Instead of doing the indexing, because I thought, okay, I'm just putting my magazine now on the table because I'm going to the bathroom or whatever, okay? No, you have to do always the same way, because if you start to adopt, like the cone, I call the ice cream cone technique, okay? Wrong, you just handle it like an ice cream cone. Then, even if you say, okay, I'm just now doing it for practical purposes because I'm taking my shoes off or whatever, guess what? Then you're going to start to train to do it wrong. So it's so important, this part. Any specific ideas, because, there are different things we can do with dry practice. But let's say for somebody that is new to this concept, any specific ideas that safely they can do at home, just like an average routine?
Well, we have a little product that we've been making now for probably, I think I started probably 2006, I believe.
Okay.
And it's simply called the Glock-Dry-Practice Kit. It doesn't work with any other handgun.
Okay.
And it's a little kit that you draw. You take your stock trigger out and drop this trigger in. Very simple. With a little experience, you can do it in 30 seconds.
Yes.
If you have manual and, step by step, you should be able to do it in less than a minute. And when you put this kit in, the gun then becomes absolutely, totally incapable of firing a live round. It is mechanically impossible.
Wow, that's good.
But what it does do is allow the trigger, you press the trigger, and you get your click, pretty much like normal, reset the trigger. You know how important reset is.
Yes.
So it allows you to, press reset repeatedly as many times as you need to. So otherwise, without this kit, what you're doing is press, hold the trigger to the rear, rack the slide, reestablish your grip, reset, and press again. Luca, what good does that do you?
Nothing. Honestly, that's bad, because it's very dangerous, that habit, I tell you, because then you start to think in real life that every time you shoot around, you need to rack the slide. That becomes almost automatical,
Luca, I've seen a lot of people out on the range rack out live rounds on the ground for that very reason.
Exactly. And I like also another important thing about this tool. And by the way, I'm looking at the photos. First of all, you have like a red dot, very, very easy to and clear to see. That is exactly on the trigger. That shows that, when you're handling that gun in the dry practice session, even of course we always follow the same type of safety rules. That gun for us is always a handgun. I don't care if it's a toy. I still treat it like with respect and the same, basic rules. But at least I know that gun cannot fire, and there is that very specific trigger with a red point that really makes a difference. I think it's very important also for safety, because I tell you, I heard stories, people do not follow all the rules that normally I've been talking about for discipline in the house to do dry practice. It takes a second, just a phone call, somebody is distracted and you reach for the wrong magazine, you don't follow the rule that no rounds in the room where you're training, and boom, you may have a very sad accident. That is not an accident, it is a negligence, in my opinion.
Right.
But so this is very good. I like the way you set it up. So the red point is great. And also I think, the trigger reset, it's vital, especially for the Glock. That's one of the most important things. We got to train with the Glock. It's not a revolver, it's not a single action. And I tell you, honestly, I never tried that, But I saw videos, I saw YouTubes, I read reviews. And I tell you, I spent a few $100s just a few months ago, and now I start to regret a little bit, as much as I like it, for the simulated tool. It's called SIRT, the handgun SIRT. SI. Right. It's great. You have a laser, and it feels like a Glock. It fits your holster, but, at the end of the day, it's $300, okay, or so. So now, with less than $60 or so, you can get something that I don't even need to have another simulated gun. I have a real gun that normally I carry with me, and I can be safe, and I can do incredible things like, for example, one thing I don't like about the SIRT, I cannot do emergency reload, for example. The slide doesn't rack. It's just a funny slide, This one, I can still use it as a real gun, correct?
Right, yeah. And back to that red dot you were talking about. That red dot, you can actually feel it. It's very visible when it's light. Mm-hmm. But if you remember to check, if it's a low light situation, you pick up a gun in the dark or something, you can reach up there with your index finger and feel that spot on either side.
Yes.
And be able to tell immediately that that's not the live trigger.
Yeah, it's
and then take whatever appropriate action is necessary.
Little hollow, I see. It's a little. There is a little concavity. Very good. So, listen, right. That's the point. I found out about this. Honestly, I didn't know that was you that you were behind this product. I said, wow, I need to contact Cope. I want to be honest, guys, listeners. This show needs help to go on. My time is free, but I have cost. And the time that I dedicate to this energy during the week, I could do my other, pay my bills, doing my other things that I do normally for life. So I say, I want to find a way to keep this show independent and free, do not rely on sponsors, but at the same time, like I know many of you guys support me downloading my songs, and I remind you, if you want to do that, you can always go to my zanna.us website for 99 cents. You can download any of my songs, and this way you support the show. But today I said, you know what, why do not even give something that is even more for gun owners, that when they purchase this product through the radio show, they can also help me out to support the show. So I wanted to call you, and I called you, and you gave me the opportunity to resell this product. So I wanted just to say, first of all, thank you, Cope, and I hope all the listeners out there, I will post a photo exactly of this product. How do you want to call this? It's called the glock-dry-practice kit. We want to call it like that?
That's simple. That's all it is.
So it fits for every Glock, third generation and fourth generation, 9mm, 40 and 357 and 45 GAP.
Well, there's three models of the glock-dry-practice kit. There's one that fits all the 9s, with the exception of the new 43. The new 43 and 42, we don't have kits for those, and probably won't in the foreseeable future because of a parts issue.
Okay.
But it fits every other 9mm, 40, 357, and 45 gap.
Okay.
One fits all of them. They're made so that they'll fit either the third generation or the fourth generation. That would also, of course, include the first and second generations. But you'll need a different kit if you're shooting any of the full-size 45s. The 21, the 10 millimeter, the Glock 20, 21, 29, 30. I think that's all right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There's a different one for those, and then there's one for the Glock 36, which is in a class all by itself, being a small single stack.
Okay.
But most people don't dry practice too much with the 36. It's not certainly not the most popular gun that Glock has out there by any means. But
okay, so listen, that's the situation, guys. If you want to have the opportunity to get one of those, okay, I tell you how to do it. Go to the website that normally you go to, lovegunsfreedom.com. I will post a link, a big photo of this dry practice kit, and there is a link that goes straight to my email, okay? and I will start to take pre-orders. Simple as that. And what is the suggested retail price that normally, you would sell this?
$69.95.
Okay.
And we've come out with a match grade one where the trigger pull is down to around 3.5 pounds, and it's $10 more. It's a little bit more work to make that happen.
Yeah.
So,
but let's say, honestly, you know what, guys, I would like to keep it simple for us. And honestly, I tell you, as much as I like the match stuff, normally in the real life, we carry, at least myself, I carry a Glock with a standard trigger because also for liability situations. But I would like to keep it simple. I would get the basic dry practice kit for, of course, 940 and also the other sides. But the point is, go to lovegunsfreedom.com. There is a big photo I will put there with a link. You go straight to my email, okay? You'll send me an email. If you're interested, okay, you send me an email. And we said the price was $69.99. What do you say?
Yeah, $69.95.
Okay, not only that, I will also give you a free song with that, okay? I will send you also a couple of free songs for every order, okay? Now, and in doing this way, the little bit of profit that there is, I will put straight forward towards the production of the show. It's not even for me. Honestly, I got my life already set. I do my stuff. I'm just trying to keep this show going so I don't need to beg for sponsors. And in this way, we can keep it free. And I can say whatever I want, and you can say whatever you want, and we don't need to, always say, okay, if the sponsor gets mad or not. We don't care. That's the bottom line. So go to lovegunsfreedom.com. And you will find the glock-dry-practice kit. And I tell you guys, if you don't have a Glock, that's fine. But if you have a Glock, this is a great opportunity to train for a very good price. And people say, oh my God, $69. Guess what? When you go to the range, if you have like a 40, how many boxes do you buy with $70? Not much, right, Cope, in these days?
Oh, no, what? 4 boxes maybe?
Maybe.
And we've got a 90-day warranty on parts and workmanship on these. Luke, I had one in my classroom when I was up in Farmington, New Mexico. That thing probably had, I'm going to guess, pretty easily 20 to 30,000 trigger presses on it, and it was still used.
Yeah.
It's not going to wear out in a summer.
Exactly.
This is a long-lasting product. It works very well, and it works for a long time. There's been a couple of others made out there that have been similar. I won't mention any names, but there was one back several years ago that was available through one of the big Glock dealers, and it was good for about 90 days. You'd use it, and it had a spring in there. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And you would have to take that spring out and turn it around to make it last. It would develop a set.
Wow.
And the spring was asked to do two different things.
Wow.
And it didn't do it very well.
Yeah.
So that's where we got the idea to build the glock-dry-practice kit, and we improved on it dramatically, changed it quite a bit, and made it where it's I can't say lifetime, I guess. I don't know. But it's not going to wear out in one summer of hard use, I can promise you that.
And also that alternative, guys, I tell you, I try them all. I like to test them all. I love the Surst handgun. It's great if you want to have it as a tool for learning and training around the house. But you need to start to put out a few $100s, okay? Seriously. And this is something, it's a great solution. And you really have the same gun. And what I can still rack my slide. I can do emergency reload if I want to. I want to do, for example, my, different type of malfunctions. Is the same handgun normally I carry. So
every single procedure that you do on the range, Luca, you can do with this thing except make noise.
Exactly.
All of your malfunctions, all of your reloads, trigger press, sight alignment, presentation, every type of technique and procedure that you can think of can be done realistically with the glock-dry-practice kit in there. You just cannot fire a live round.
And I need to get one ASAP. I'm not even going to wait for the order. I'm going to buy after we finish the conversation. But now listen, guys, to me. Not only you help this show, you also, I like when the American people, even especially in our state, we're in Arizona, okay? And when I see the small business owner coming out with an idea and producing it, away from big corporate control. So this is like exactly every business starts from an idea and hard work of people. And no, Obama, you did not do it for us. We are doing it. We are making it, okay? And that's the bottom line. We work, we risk, we invest, and, and we sometimes we make mistakes and we go on. That's part of being American and the free spirit of this country. So out there, not only you get something good for your training, your family, you also is going to help two different entities here. One is my radio show, Love, Guns, and Freedom. If you're listening, I hope it's worth it. And the other way, somebody like Cop Reynolds that is dedicated his life to sharing this information, to training people, and also for the cause of freedom. The guy is an activist. He's one of us. So that's the bottom line. So don't be cheap. Cough it up. Go to lovegunsfreedom.com, and we appreciate it. Right, Cop?
Right. Yes, sir, we do. I've sold these dry practice kits in, I believe it's 16 or 17 countries right now.
Wow.
I just sent 40 of them out to Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
That's great.
And we've got several law enforcement agencies and individual law enforcement officers that use them because it's an alternative to the red gun. The red gun that Glock offers is a $400 gun that does the same thing the dry practice kit does.
Exactly.
For $69.95.
And I like that red point. It's so good because, you realize that you cannot shoot live ammo. It's safe. It is not just, when I play around with I do dry practice with my regular Glock, and I have some other system like the laser that you put inside the chamber, things like that. I still freak out a little bit sometimes, even I know that I'm safe, but still, it's a gun. If I had a trigger like that one, I see that it's completely deactivated. It's always safer. I think it's always safer, especially in the house. Listen, Cope, one more time, I appreciate it. And please, if people want to reach you out, for example, for some of your classes, how they can get hold of you.
Best way to do it is go to our website at southwestshootingauthority.com. Pretty easy, southwestshootingauthority.com. You can call or email at training@southwestshootingauthority.com.
Perfect. And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. Don't go away after this hour of guns. We will talk about now love, but it's a different type of love today. Are you ready to stand up for this country? Because we are under attack. This is the final love. Let's show to our next generation that we did everything we could. Don't go away.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. This is the hour about love. Normally at this hour I talk to you about love, like Kama Sutra, or maybe, I don't know, women, or love for God, or love for spiritual love. Love is a big word, but there is a love that I really like. It's love for freedom, and of course it's love for standing up for not just us, but also for who will be after us, our next generation. I really believe, normally I don't talk about religion so much on this show. I keep my religion for myself. Yes, I have faith. I don't believe in religion. I have faith. That's my personal thing. And I don't like to bash religions in general because, I believe everybody who want to follow their God and mind their business and does not try to convert or, harass others, that's their right. That's freedom of speech and freedom of religion. It's a basic. But there is a problem. And I have a problem only with one specific group, honestly. And I don't want to generalize with everybody, but I tell you, I already told you in the past, if you believe in a book that your book is incompatible with our basic Bill of Rights, we have a big problem. Two things can be happening. One, that you are not really a good follower of this type of religion. And I'll tell you now which religion, for me you already know. Or maybe you are just somebody that, you're in disguise. Because if you're a good Muslim, I'm sorry, if you're a really good Muslim, you follow your Quran, we have a big problem to being compatible with our Bill of Rights. And at that point, it's my duty as an American to talk about it. Let's just talk about it, okay? I'm not even trying to be mean. Let's just have a little conversation. Let's not freeze like in Europe, that even just to have this conversation on the air, I would be probably arrested or fined or sued, like, for example, happened to Brigitte Bardot, just because she wrote a letter to the editor that she was denouncing the danger of the Muslim invading her country. Friends, she got sentenced. She didn't pay 6 months in jail. Guess what? Screw you. This is America, and I'll speak up. Not only I'll speak up, I'll be the big guy here that he knows what he's talking about when it comes down to expose these bastards that they try to think that they need to convert us. Now, I know I'm changing. I try to control myself. I have here John. John, are you there?
I'm here, Luca. Thanks for having me again, bud.
I'm sorry, man. I try to control myself, but then I start to lose it. Anyway, listen, let's start from the beginning, okay? First of all, I had you on my show not that long ago. You've been doing, in my opinion, something that every American should do. Speak up their mind and, exercise this First Amendment. The First Amendment is not about being agreeing with things. It's saying things that normally people do not agree, and sometimes even be offensive if you have to. And you know what? You've done that. You've done that in a peaceful way, but also in a straight way. That means you weren't afraid where you were standing in front of a mosque in Phoenix. And tell us exactly what did you do? Because I want to refresh people's mind what you've been doing the last few months.
Well, it all started back when a few Muslims came from this mosque here in Phoenix and decided to go out to Texas and try to shoot and kill innocent American citizens that were having a cartoon drawing contest. Mm-hmm. And because it was offensive to them. So they felt the need to follow the Quran the way that it's written and go out and kill those infidels that were drawing cartoons of the prophet. I'll say it, he's a false prophet, the false prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go to the mosque where these two men came from, and we held a rally out front, basically letting them know that we're not going to accept this kind of behavior in our country.
Perfect.
And they need to spank it in the butt.
Listen, first of all, before I forget, the last name is the most important thing. I think John, probably already knew him, but his name is jon-ritzheimer. I hope my German accent was good enough, okay? And, you're also a veteran. You took an oath to defend this republic, no matter what. Your oath is not it doesn't have an expiration date, okay? I really believe what you're doing is important, because if we've been told, okay, and for me it was a lie, this is my opinion, that we're supposed to go around the world to spread democracy. By the way, it's a bad word, my opinion, democracy. We are not a democracy, but that's another story. And then we don't have any more the rights of freedom of speech in our own country. We are living in a lie. So it's very important to remember that if we want to have rights, we need to exercise them. And we realize that we don't have rights when we start to realize that what's happening. I mean, you have a lot of death threats, and not only you, a lot of people that has been speaking out, about, I don't even say against, you're just saying the truth. When you say, you just repeat what the book says.
It's very easy, for people like us to, we don't have to, although I wear an offensive t-shirt that says F Islam, I don't have to be great to these people. I'm not calling them names like some people out there call them goat humpers and everything like that. It's just because we don't have to do that. We don't have to stoop to that level. We're able to just present the facts and beat them up all day long just by presenting the facts, simply by reading quotes directly from the Quran, and simply by bringing up all these other incidents that are taking place, simply by pointing out, 98% of terrorist organizations around the world, I believe, are Islamic. Yeah. So, these are facts that we can beat them up with all day long. We don't have to resort to calling names, and we're not lashing out at them. We have not done any violence to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So where they're getting off, they're just following the book as it's written.
Exactly.
And that's not a good thing.
And let me say one thing. First of all, you are aware that in Europe, just to have this sort of a conversation on the air, probably the station would be shut down, and I don't know, maybe even something worse. And more important, I would probably be arrested, and so you would do. You know that. Are you aware of it?
Absolutely. But it's not just Europe. Okay, it's also
Canada,
these Muslim countries.
Yeah,
in Iran.
Oh God, no, wait! You would be chop your head on the spot. Not even a trial. They just shoot you on the spot. I mean, shoot you. I don't think even.
Absolutely. Saudi Arabia, any of those places, they don't, because they're completely run by Islam, and they follow the book. It's very direct. It gives a set of laws and their code of behavior on what they're supposed to do and emulate the Prophet Muhammad. And that's no way that we want to live here.
No.
So it really is impossible for it to coexist, unless they're going to do some sort of a reformation.
Exactly.
They need to have reformation in that religion.
And I would like to read part of the Quran. I hope people may forgive my accent when it comes down to the name, the Holy Quran, like the president, acting as president is telling us. This is not the holy to me, anything holy, when it comes down to a book that promotes, first of all, the violence against people that do not want to be part of this religion. There is nothing holy. This is just, for me, it's a bloody book. And this is my opinion, Gianluca Zanna speaking. Let me tell you the first thing. The first thing, if you believe that we live in a republic, not a democracy, in a republic where every individual supposed to have his rights or her rights defended against the mob, we have one right that's supposed to be the basic foundation. It's called the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. States the Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion. Instead, the Quran states in Surah 489, how you call it, those who reject Islam must be killed, period. If they turn back from Islam, take hold of them and kill them wherever you find them. People can say, oh, this is just in the old book. Nothing changed it. This is not like there is they change your mind, they did a New Testament or stuff like that. This is still there. So my question is, if you are a loyal follower of this religion, and this is your book, we have a big, serious, fat problem. Okay? There is no compatibility with freedom. That's why I want you to bring on the show. This show is called about freedom, not cowering and not being politically correctness, and avoid to have this conversation. Then you wake up like in Europe, in France, and then you realize that you're surrounded, and then you need to start to behave according to Sharia law just because the mob took over your country. What do you think about it? Is it happening in America already here? Because I think some part of America, they are getting to this point.
Yeah, they're getting ready to bring in these, so-called refugees from Syria. This government's getting ready to bring more of them in here, and we see what happens to countries when Muslims become the predominant or the majority in even in a city or anything. We take a look up at Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. You got no-go zones up there.
Yeah,
Sharia law zone areas they're trying to establish Sharia law, and that's directly infringing on anybody who lives up there. It's infringing on their rights, and the government's not doing anything to stop it. Not a thing.
Exactly. I mean, and this is right there. I could stop there, but there is so much more, and I want to be sure, if there are people out there, they are Muslims, and they want to say something, I welcome you on the show. I really do. And I'm civil, okay? If you're civil, I'm civil. If you are an ass, you know what? Yeah.
I too am a civil person, okay? I do come off as extreme and intense. That's the Marine in me, because, I do have a lot of passion and fire burning in me. But there's pictures of me shaking hands with one of the imams at the mosque there at the last rally.
Yeah.
And I shook hands with him, and directly after that, I pulled out my Quran, and I said, look, I got some verses highlighted in here that I got questions about. This is not okay.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he says, his response was, "I'm really not the one educated enough to explain those to you."
Wow.
And I said, "What are you talking about? You're an imam of this mosque.
Oh my God.
You're one of the leaders.
Yeah.
If you're not educated enough, then who?"
Yeah.
They beat around the bush.
Yeah.
But I am civil. I'm not, look, there are good Muslims out there. I'm not saying they're all bad.
No, listen.
I just believe that they are following this faith blindly, and they're not holding it accountable, and they're just letting it, rule the world and try to dictate the way that they live their life through submission, and that's not how we work out here.
Exactly.
And so.
And another thing,
they need to be held accountable.
I had some people that I knew, I don't consider really friends, but we were spending time together. I was in Italy. They were Muslims, and they were good people. But guess what? They weren't good Muslims because they used to drink and they used to have a regular life. And yeah, they were born from Muslim background, but honestly, they never tried to convince me, to preach me, or to impose their religion. They were some sort of a loose, let's say, almost secular Muslims. Okay, so I had no problem with them. They mind their business, I mind my business, we all get along. That's great. I tell you something though, I had experiences, in Italy too, when I left Italy just before I was leaving Italy. It was 18 years ago almost, and Italy was already taken over by this new wave. And I tell you, you go in some parts of Rome even, and you try to talk to some of these people that they completely look at you like you are an inferior. They treat you like an inferior. I didn't know. I went to a shop, honestly. I went to a shop. This was in Monrovia, California, okay? A few years ago. And I didn't know that this carpet shop was owned by a Muslim. And I tell you, I had to leave the shop because I was with, the time was my wife. And they were treated like crap, seriously. And I was a customer. And I said, what the heck? I mean, give us a little respect. We were coming here for some business. Instead, I look at you. I had my little cross. At the time, it was summertime. I was wearing a cross. And they started to look me down. And I'm telling you, maybe it was just an exception. But I know that after they started to, my wife, she was paying the bill with me, they didn't want to talk to her. They were looking at me like I was the master and she was my slave. Seriously, that was a bad experience. I had to run so fast. I didn't even know why we stopped there. But the point is this, guys, if you are a Muslim right there and you want to mind your business and you believe that this is America and our Constitution, Bill of Rights come first, I consider you still my brother. I don't care what you do in your private life. Seriously. But when you start to come out, you want to impose your religion on me and the rest of us, and you want to use force and coercion, and you want to tell me that I'm a big citizen, like, that the DIMA, the tax, in the Muslim countries, if you are not a Muslim, you're allowed to keep your religion, but you gotta pay a tax like you would pay to the mafia. Have you ever heard about that?
Yeah, that's in some countries, but there's the head honcho countries like Saudi Arabia, where Mecca is. There's no churches allowed there. There's no so you're not allowed to have that there.
No.
There's no churches. There's no synagogues built. There's nothing. So. It's completely. It just shows there's no tolerance in that religion.
And let's talk about the Second Amendment. This is the show about called Love, Guns, and Freedom. Guess what? If you're not a Muslim in a Muslim country, you are not allowed to have weapons. You have no Second Amendment. If we had to be following the Quran in America, if we were a Muslim, we were not allowed to have weapons. Are you familiar with that?
Yep. Absolutely.
So right there.
What better way to disarm the infidel than to make it that a law?
Yeah, and there is so much more. Just because you offend the prophet, or whatever you want to call him, okay? The Fifth Amendment states in our country, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime without due process of law. Instead, Muhammad said, no Muslim should be killed for killing a kafir, an infidel. So, they can kill you because you are an infidel, but they had no type of due process. They are supposed to be immune from the law, right there. And more important, the worst part, this is something really, I can't believe it. Talking about cruel and unusual punishment, the hate amendment, even a former immigrant like myself knows these basics, okay? Says that there should be no cruel or unusual punishment inflicted. Instead, the Quran says, cut the hands of thieves, whether they are male or female, as punishment for what they have done. This is, we're talking about if you steal an apple, they cut your hand, okay? I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't say that you need to steal, but there is a little problem. And then, of course, if you're a woman, you're really screwed. I mean, all these women right there, that they think that is so fancy and so cool to become a Muslim. Guess what? Try it out for real in Saudi Arabia. Then you tell me how it works for you. What you gonna say about that, John?
Again, it all boils down to just complete lack of education amongst the Muslim community. They're so nose deep in the Quran, they're not seeing what these leaders of that faith are doing, even here in our own country. And then you look at organizations like CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, who's reported me to the FBI. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't threatened anybody. I'm just a scary infidel boogeyman to them. So they report me to the FBI. Yet one of the leaders of the Council of American Islamic Relations, I'll have to pull up the date, but he was arrested in a child sex slave ring.
Yeah, I heard that.
Because that's what's okay to them. They get pleasure from that. It's not because that's what the Prophet Muhammad did, so they're trying to emulate him, and they think it's okay to be with children.
Yes.
13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, I mean, that's disgusting. I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
I understand.
It really isn't.
This is part of their cultural. I mean, look at what they do, and it's part of their religion. I mean, maybe not everybody in the Western world does that, but you can see very well what is exactly the story of the Prophet. I think he had a bunch of wives. They were like 10 years old. Okay, this is a fact. For me, the most important thing right now, you know what? That we must talk about this. I don't want to feel the people that they have this social almost stigma and fear, because politically correctness will try to stop every type of conversation about that. This is something we're talking about facts. We are reading the book. I'm trying to learn. Let's put it this way. I'm here trying to learn, and I'm just studying part of this holy book. And I guess what? So far sucks. This is Luca Zanna telling you, okay? Yeah. I wouldn't even come close to that. I'm not even trying to be offensive. It's just the truth. It's my opinion. If you don't like it, it's too bad. And you know what? The moment that we shut up, the moment that we are fearful and we are silent, we are lost, John. You know that. Then when the wolves start to come in the middle of the night, they start to come for your throat. They first try to, bite you in the back or bite you on your butt to see how do you feel. And if you don't smack them on the face immediately and you coward, they're gone. We are gone. That's the point. That's why it's so important. That's why I want to bring you back. And that's why I want to help in every way I can. Even I'm a regular guy with an accent. I'm here to try to say we must not be afraid. It's not like we have option. It's our duty. Otherwise, our sons and daughters will live in the Middle Ages under these bastards. They will take over politicians. They will take over our political system. And we will live like a new America with 2K, not with 1. Now, what's going on Sunday? You got something great going on. Tell me.
Yeah, Saturday we're doing another, this is called a global rally for humanity. And so I've used, ever since the last rally, I've made contacts with people in Australia, Canada, Israel, Germany, Britain, Italy, France, all these other countries throughout Europe. And some of us all decided, you know what, it's time for a global rally. We need to all unite and do something on the same day, and let's send a clear-cut message from these Western countries to this religion, okay, and smack it in the butt. And so we're setting up a global rally for humanity. It's taken place. So far, we've got over 20 states here in America alone that are taking place.
Wow.
And the instructions were, you just set up a Facebook event page. You don't need to travel, but if there's not an event in your area, you just make a Facebook page and you title it the Global Rally for Humanity. You put a colon, and then you put the city in which that rally is going to take place. All you got to do is find the address of a nearby mosque, and that's your protest point.
Okay.
And so it's taking place in all these different countries. And it's really awesome. It's great, and it's picking up momentum. Part of me wants to make it an annual thing. Make 1010 our annual thing. Until this religion has some sort of reformation, we need to keep on it. So if we got to make this an annual thing globally, then so be it. Let's do it.
Exactly. And one thing, this show is recorded, so guys, you're listening on Sunday. And this event, it's happening on Saturday. We're talking about Saturday the 10th of October 2015, okay? So it's already going to be gone. But regardless, the point is the purpose of this interview is to start to make awareness, okay? We must be free without fear to talk about everything. You know, I talk about, you know, with a guest caller like last week about Zionism. You know, I don't care. You know, this is his right to talk on the air about everything. The only thing I do not condone is violence, because that's the bottom line. But at the end, we are free to talk about everything. And more important, this is a very serious issue. I also completely agree on this one. Because, by the way, only thing I want to give you a twist, I'm sure you're familiar. You know that all this is happening by a design. I mean, all these thousands and millions of Muslims invading Europe and invading America, it is not just because it's happening. It's part of a plan. You know that ISIS is funded by this administration. Are you familiar with that? I mean, there are a lot of connections.
I am. It's really disgusting.
I know.
People don't realize we went into Syria. We stuck our nose where it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
We go into Syria, and you know, then we start arming these rebels and stuff, and giving them money, and then the rebel group splits into two. Half of them see an wide open Iraq that's an easy take, and they say, hey, here's a good opportunity for us to establish our Islamic caliphate. And they went straight down there, and now they are spreading. They've taken over oil fields. They have funds.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And John, you know, this is a treason for me. If you are giving support to an enemy, you would be processed, you would court-martial and everything else. I mean, we have here the administration itself. There are all the evidence and proofs coming from the Pentagon, coming from everything. And it's not just Obama, of course. Obama is just a puppet. But the point is, look at McCain, look at other politicians. They've been serving for many reasons. I don't know, I don't say that I know them all. But remember also the military-industrial complex. The president has an hour warned us. This is exactly where to create an enemy and create this conflict that is going to last a long time. Obama just said a few days ago, we think that it's going to last a very long time, this war with ISIS. And then guess what? Russia in 3 days, with a few bombs and will and determination, is putting them out of business. I mean, this is amazing, almost ridiculous. So this is the fact, guys. I'm not here to try to say that, you know, they try to put us against each other. That's a fact, number one. And don't get me wrong, but it's also a real threat. If you are brainwashed and you follow that book, I'm sorry, we have a serious problem, especially if you live in America. Because I'm not going to comply, I'm not going to bow down, and I'm not going to be intimidated. I didn't come all the way from Italy to lick your ass, okay? That's the bottom line. Now, another beep I need to do here, damn it. Okay, I want to give you the floor. You are also a father, you are a Marine, you have concern about this country. That's why it even sounds strange. Even I'm kind of a little bit irate here. I try to control a little bit. But this is the hour about love. We are doing this for love. What do you think about this? If this is not an act of love or not?
It is love. The only, you know, I do this for my kids' future. I even do this for the Muslims in this country's future. Okay? I don't want violence. I could have very, very easily had it. It stirred up controversy because I utilize my Second Amendment that our founding fathers put here to protect myself. And they think, well, that's an act of violence. No, just protecting myself is not an act of violence. Yeah. I have not done any violence here. So, whether they believe it or not, I'm doing this even for the future of their children, because they're living under, you know, if they want to live under Sharia law and trust their children and their women and everything, it's just not going to fly here in America. And I'm hoping that perhaps this will spark some sort of a reformation in that religion. I keep going back to it, but there's lots of outspoken Muslims, even women. I almost bought a book about it. I just was in Barnes & Noble's earlier buying a Quran that I'm taking with me to the rally. But there was a book that I almost pulled the trigger on buying, talking from a Muslim woman, how she's talking about how the religion needs to change. It needs to change, and it needs to change now. And even Christians and Catholics, I mean, they got Old Testament.
Yeah.
You know, there's some pretty bad stuff in there.
I agree.
But then you have a New Testament.
I agree, listen, and that's why I say, you know, there are things that, for example, like in the Old Testament, there are pretty much brutal. But guess what? That's why it's evolved. That's like the last at least 100 years. I don't hear anything having the head chopped because they didn't want to convert to Christianity. I mean, I can talk about the Pope all I want and say that is a piece of garbage, and I don't have to fear that somebody, in their book says I need to be killed because I offend the Pope. Different. Big difference. I mean, every religion may have their problems. Honestly, I learned, I'm a former Catholic, and I realized that everybody who wants to control religions, it's a sort of controlling the people. I believe in faith, I believe in my own God, but I don't want a middleman like a prophet tell me what to do. But this is just me. But regardless, if you look around, I think 90% of world religions, we never had any problem, okay? This is the only religious group that in their book, nothing changed since the time of their prophet. It's still the same. The Old Testament and the New Testament was a message of love, of forgiveness. I mean, even when they were trying to, stone the adulterous woman, Christ said, hey, if you are without sin, stop it, because you're a bunch of hypocrites. Everybody commits sins. Don't kill because somebody else, like in their private life, he was, cheating to his husband or her husband. Okay, that's another story. No, the Quran didn't change at all. So we are living in the Middle Ages. We have a big problem. All I want to say, everybody's welcome here. If you're civil, I'll be civil, and you can want to go on the show. You want to go on the show, lovegunsfreedom.com. If you want to disagree with me or John, I welcome you, and I hope we have a good conversation. John, I really thank you. I don't want to say I'll be there because sometimes I always say too much. I got so many things, but I'll be there for sure, at least with my music. I want that if you want, I would give you my blessing to play any of my songs in front of the mosque. Let them know how much I really enjoy their book.
Yeah, bring if you got the songs on your phone, like an MP3 format or something. I'm going to have a loudspeaker there. It's going to be on Bluetooth, so you'll be able to stream music straight from your phone right there to the loudspeaker. I am going to have your CD there, but I'm trying to develop. I don't know a way that I can play it through this speaker that I have. So I did download one of your songs, I believe, from online, and I love all the music you've
I'll give you some MP3.
Produced, so.
I'll give you some MP3. I'll send it to you later on via email, okay? Okay, guys, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Don't go away, and we have more information and more news and more love. Here we go, guys. This is Luca Zanna, final hour, final part. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and also on United States.FM network. This has been a very interesting, strange last hour. This hour about love. Normally I told you, we talk about different things. Today it's about, love for our freedom more than everything. And also to face the reality that we are under attack. This is my humble opinion. That's fine. You may believe or not. That's not the point. But I know that there are a lot of people out there that they're trying to do what they think is right, to stand up for this country, to stand up for the next generation. This show is broadcasted in this part of Arizona, and of course we reach also part of California and the Nevada area with Laughlin. But it is becoming more and more a show that I'm so excited. I have no idea. Even people in Scotland, I'm receiving people from Scotland, and give me a lot of hope, because the struggle that we are facing as humanity, it is not just an American struggle or a local struggle. Every state, every county, every city, everybody, everywhere around the world, I think we are facing the same type of global tyranny. And in this way, also we know that in my humble research, they've been using certain group of religious, these globalists, to try to conquer the rest of the Western world. If people think I'm too extreme, or maybe I'm kind of a conspiracy, that's fine. But I read books. I know about the Kalergi Plan, started in Europe 1920s, the destruction of European sovereignty, and of course American sovereignty. It is not just about political sovereignty, it's also about cultural sovereignty. And it's happening. It's happening right now. So I said, I'm open to every religion. I welcome every religion, but I have a big problem with there is a religious group that, according to their book, they have a goal to completely dominate us or convert us with force. That's a big problem. That's why my duty here as a new American is try to at least talk about these topics and not being afraid. I have with me today the honor to have a great guy. I don't know him in person, but I've been following him. I know that is one of us when it comes down to defending this republic and defending our individual rights. We need to have more politicians. I don't even want to call him politician because it's a bad word. It's a statement. It's the House Representative Republican in Washington State for the Spokane area, and his name is Matthew-Shea. Matt, are you there?
I am here. Thanks for having me on, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to go straight to point. You are in Washington State. Washington State, I read in the news, especially I think in the Spokane area, there was a very interesting event when it came down to the celebration or the recognition of a specific group, religious group or cultural group or civil rights group or whatever you want to call it. It's called CARE. Tell us a little bit more exactly what happened, when happened, and why it's so important that we talk about this.
Well, I think first I need to start by saying that, here in Spokane Valley, which we affectionately call the capital of free Washington, we have a different point of view than Seattle does, and so the state is kind of split down the middle, and I think we have to be unafraid to talk about these types of issues, and particularly about the history of Islam and what is going on in the world with Islamic and terrorists and Islamo-fascists, I like to call them. So what happened here in Spokane City was, and this is not Spokane Valley, there's two separate cities. In Spokane City, the city council decided to try and give them a commendation during a city council meeting, the Council of American Islamic Relations, otherwise known as CARE, and there was a huge protest outside in regards to them receiving any sort of public recognition. And the reason is because during the Holy Land Foundation trial in 2008, a federal district court judge ruled that CARE was an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trial. In very simple terms, they were a member of the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States of America. And that was found in a court of law.
Wow.
And in addition to that, there was the North American Islamic Trust, or NATE, that was also found to be a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a known terrorist organization. And NATE actually owns the mosque in Spokane Valley, Washington. So many of the citizens were very concerned with the terror ties that are very demonstrable. Again, these were in a court of law. There is no speculation on this. This is not just a matter of opinion. These were found in a court of law, so it's irrefutable, and yet the city of Spokane wanted to acknowledge them and award them a commendation for their work in the community, which I have to say was just one of the most stunning things I've seen in a long time around here.
Yeah. Why it's so important, I already talked before, I have another guest before you, and we'll be talking about this, because the problem is one, people may ignore reality or not, that's fine, but we will not be able to ignore the consequences of this reality. We are facing here a reality that, according to their beliefs, according to the Holy Book, how they want to call it, excuse me, is a big incompatibility with our Bill of Rights and Constitution, and that's the bottom line. If you're a good, loyal Muslim, you're not going to be a good American. You're not going to be able to respect each other, because this is supposed to be basing our interaction as Americans, as human beings, to respecting each other's differences. There is no way that you can respect each other if you are somebody that's telling you, according to your book, that his duty is to kill you or to convert you or to make you pay a tax if you do not convert. So that's a big problem. That's why we must talk about this more than ever. And more important is, now you're saying that the city council of a town, American town, takes the effort, the time, and also the tax dollar to start to recognize, after all, they want to call it a civil rights group, but for me it's about religious entity, because they advocate a religion. Did they ever done anything like, recognizing, I'm not a Catholic, but let's say, for example, a Catholic group of the volunteers for Catholic religion, or maybe a bunch of Buddhists, this is the first time they do something specifically just about Muslim, or they've done also to other religions the same type of royal treatment?
I will tell you that I don't know of anything in the last 5 years where they have done that. That's not to say they may have not done that sometime that I don't know about, but I don't know of any time where they have recognized another clearly associated religious group like CARE. And I would say very clearly on this point that they knew ahead of time that CARE had those terrorist ties, that was in a court of law. So it's not like they flew in there ignorant.
Yeah.
And I would also say, too, that, my goodness, the FBI had to break off relations with CARE because of those same terrorist ties in 2007. And yet, after this protest that we had in front of the city council meeting, after this protest, our own sheriff sat down with the CARE leadership, and I was just kind of stunned to find that he had sat down, and I think it might have been a week prior, but either way, he knew. Mm-hmm. He sits down with the CARE leadership, and 2 weeks prior to that, actually came out with an article where he compared constitutionalists to ISIS and said that constitutionalists were a greater threat to America than ISIS. And it was just stunning, this kind of reversal and this complete ignorance of the truth.
I know, but this is part, not ignorance. I think it's part of the agenda. This is a sort of putting fear into us, so people don't want to get involved anymore. That's why I'm saying, people say, why are you keep bashing today? I'm not even bashing, I'm bringing facts, talking about this topic, because exactly what they want us to do is the opposite. They want us to be silent and be politically correctness frozen, and that's the point. There is a plan here, is to destroy this country, in my humble opinion. I wasn't born here, I came here just 18, 17 years ago, but I can see what happened already in Europe. This is the next country they wanted to make it happen. The destruction of the fiber, cultural, and of course economic and sovereignty. And of course at this point they need to use like the useful idiots. In this case, for me, the useful idiots, the foot soldiers, it's a religious group that is being used and manipulated to destroy what is left of the identity of this country. And that's what's happening. And I'm sad that the sheriff, that's supposed to be also elected by the people, he doesn't understand the basics, or maybe he does, and he's just afraid to speak up, or who knows, maybe he's bought out. Question is, according to your humble opinion, this is, of course, is your opinion, why do you think this city council took the effort to go out and do this official ceremony that really for me makes no sense, celebrating CARE? What is the reason? Politically correctness, number one, maybe paid off, or they're just a bunch of imbeciles? And this is me, Luca Zanna, talking.
Well, so I think it was political correctness, and I think also that you hit on the issue. There is an intentional march toward destroying this country. And I've seen it in everything from leadership in Washington, D.C., to all the way down at the local level. There are people intent on destroying this country and intent on creating division, intent on fomenting unrest, and like you said, scaring people. And I think that, you can't look at it any other way. I mean, these people are not stupid. Many of them were, Yale and Harvard graduates at the national level, or, these local prestigious colleges here in Washington State. They graduated from these places. These are not dumb people.
No.
They know what the truth is, and yet they're doing exactly the opposite of what the truth is. And that to me means that what they're doing is intentional, and I think we have to look at it this way. So when I see this commendation of CARE come out, I think not only is it political correctness, I think this is part of their intentional agenda to really turn good into evil and evil into good, and try to turn things upside down.
Yeah, and this is part of a bigger plan. We are looking at this as an angle, as a cultural and also religion and also social, because unfortunately the religion, it doesn't stay just in the churches. That's the problem. That's why I want to talk about this. This is not just like, okay, the Catholics said that on Friday you need to eat fish. Okay, whatever, who cares? I'm going to eat what I want on Friday. Nobody's going to come to my home and chop my head or put me in front of, beat me up. The problem here is the religion is a theocracy, and they want to have the same type principles that they have in their religious moral life, also in our social life. And if you believe out there, listeners, that this is not going to happen, I tell you already, it's happening in Europe. It's happening in many parts of Europe, that when these people, they get into power, and that's why it's so dangerous, CARE, in my humble opinion, that they're going to start to get elected, get enough numbers. After all, we've been brainwashed by all presidents the last 20 years at least, that we are a democracy, and we are not a democracy, you know that, but they want to tell us that we are a democracy. So 51% of the idiots out there can be able to elect evil people out there, that they can decide how we live, how we die, what we eat, how we pray, and everything else. So this is part of the plan,
You're exactly right. You're absolutely right. A republic, which we live in, is based on the rule of law, and that's why Islam, which I go a step further, I call it a theopolitical construct, because it's not just a religion. It's an entire governmental system, an entire court system. I mean, it covers an entire war system. It covers
to then spending more billions of dollars to defeat them, and more importantly, using them as puppets for their geopolitical agenda. And you know very well that now it's no more some sort of in the conspiracy book. ISIS-Obama connection is real, okay? The funding and the connection. And we can see just the last few days. Russia, he had, in 3 days, he didn't need too much effort. I mean, they were able to almost put very deadly blows to ISIS. And Obama said that we supposed to have this war long time. The point is now that he's micromanaging the war. Every time they need to drop a bomb, they need to ask him permission, and he shows that when the Egyptian government was trying to bomb ISIS, Obama went out there, as public media news, that he was reprimanding them. So the conspiracy is over. This is, for me, as an act of treason, the way I see at this, okay? We have, at the same time, this bastard, and this is Luca Zanna talking, not Matthew-Shea, the politician, please. I want to be sure the media understand the difference. I'm responsible for my own words. This bastard and the White House acting as a president, meanwhile that he's trying to disarm us, using as a crisis at the school, like, for example, in Oregon, is giving weapons to more of these supposed to be freedom fighters in Syria. You think I'm too extreme, Matt? Am I out of control, or am I too something here? What do you think?
Well, you know, I've had people ask me. They'll say, Matt-Shea, what do you know about Islam? And I'll say, well, I served in Iraq and I served in Bosnia in the military. I was literally in the cavalry as a platoon leader. I was in the infantry as a company commander, literally on the front lines in both of those places. And I thought it was good to do the research and understand the culture in which I was going into to fight. And the bottom line is that Islam cannot be compatible with the Constitution of the United States. You literally can't pledge allegiance to the Constitution and also pledge allegiance to Allah. You got to pick one or the other. And I think Ben Carson on that was right. Now, to your point of what you said about ISIS, I don't think you're extreme at all. The mainstream media just came out last week and finally admitted that the so-called moderate rebels, which didn't exist, but the so-called moderate rebels that we spent $500 million funding, turned over all their weapons to Al-Qaeda. Well, why did they do that? Well, they were already part of Al-Qaeda, and everybody knew that in the Middle East, and the Russians have now called out the United States on this. What's more alarming to me, though, is on the southern border, we have a completely open border right now, and in the first quarter of 2014, out of, I think it was 475,000 people that were considered other than Mexican, that's the designation they give. I don't give that, that's the designation they give. But other than Mexican, 253,000 of them that were apprehended were other than Mexican out of that 475,000 total that were apprehended. So you're talking well over half. And those people were coming from countries like Libya and Chechnya, which is in Russia, obviously, and Syria, and all of these other Middle Eastern countries without having been vetted at all. And I think that the federal government saying that they don't know that there are members of ISIS crossing our southern border, that they're members of terrorist groups crossing our southern border into the United States, and that these people now that are coming in as Syrian refugees, that they don't know how to vet them and they can't tell if they're terrorists or not, is total bogus, because I thought they had facial recognition that they were trying to use on all of us. So if they can have and use that in the Middle East, they surely can use it here in America. So this whole thing seems very contrived, and I don't think that you're overboard saying that.
Well, this is, as I said, for me it's like we have, let's put it, the last days of Rome. We have an emperor that is not a Roman and is a barbarian, and also is paid off as like a Manchurian candidate. He's opening the gates. Meanwhile, we've been told to shut up. Meanwhile, been trying to somehow be distracted, and more important, meanwhile, they want us to disarm us. They are so obsessed with we the people having any mean of defense for our property, for our life, for our republic also. I know you're very strong about the Second Amendment. Please tell me exactly what's going on now in Washington State with the latest laws that for me was, like for you, I'm sure, an act of tyranny planned by these globalists like Bloomberg, that they try to completely destroy every type of Second Amendment or make it more difficult in every state. What's your plan? What's going on? What type of ideas do you have there?
Well, Washington State is kind of an experiment state. They will come into Washington State to see if they can pass things, kind of like they do in California as well. Mm-hmm. And so we had a very liberal multimillionaire come into Washington State, and they did an initiative called I-594, which requires universal background checks on virtually all transfers of firearms. So let me give you a couple examples. If you're at the firing range and you're getting trained and you have your weapon and the trainer has their weapon, if you hand your weapon to the trainer, you would have to do a background check on the trainer if there's not proper certifications and all of this other stuff. So it's kind of ridiculous. The other one is if you are a veteran and you literally want to be part of a funeral ceremony, and you go to the VFW and you check out a weapon from the VFW to be part of that funeral ceremony, you'd have to have a background check done on you. It's just ridiculous stuff, and we're seeing this continue. And in Washington State, we have Article 1, Section 24 in our Constitution, and that says that the right to bear arms shall not be impaired. It's a little bit better language than infringed, I think. But either way, impaired means to diminish in any capacity. And that's exactly what these laws are doing. They're diminishing our right to bear arms. And so for me, this is the line in the sand. And that's why here over the summer, we had the incident up in Priest River, Idaho, where the Veterans Administration, a gentleman named John Arnold, he was a Navy vet, he had a stroke. A doctor ruled that he was incapable of handling his VA benefits. Not that he was mentally incompetent, but he was incapable of handling his VA benefits. 8 months later, no doctor had ever followed up with him, and the VA sends him a letter and basically says he's lost his right to bear arms, literally to keep, possess, or sell arms or ammunition.
Wow.
And so the VA then called him up and said, we're coming to your house, and we called and put out a huge alert. It went nationwide. We had 760 shares on one Facebook post alone. We had about 100 people show up in his front yard and wait for the VA to show up. And when the VA did show up, you should have seen the look on that guy's face when there was 100 armed patriots standing in somebody's front yard waiting for this guy to arrive. The guy was very cordial.
Yes.
But the VA backed completely down, and the next business day, that same doctor who 8 months earlier had ruled that he was incompetent magically sent out a letter and said he's now competent, and the VA just last week officially restored Mr. Arnold's competency.
Wow.
And people that don't think this is real, we have a recording from the VSO in Idaho that said if he's worried about his guns being taken away, then he should hide them in the back shed and not wear them on his hip. That's not America, where you're guilty until proven innocent. And this guy had no due process. This was just a bureaucracy making a decision. And so for me, really, the right to bear arms and the freedom of conscience both are my lines in the sand. And we have got to stand against what this president wants to do, and that's disarm all Americans.
Yes, and you know what? I watched the video, by the way, on YouTube, and I will post it again on lovegunsfreedom.com. This is so powerful what you just said, because what they're doing here, they're testing the water. It's like a shark or even a coyote, okay? They try, first of all, when they're hungry, they try to give you a little bite on your butt to see how you react. And if you don't stand up, if you don't smash it on his face immediately, then he's going to come for your throat. That's the point. And, you know, they're so obsessed with everybody, but especially with veterans. That's why Obama, just a few weeks ago, and you know that is true, he wrote down an executive order that he was giving this sort of complete arbitrary power, as you said, no due process. Now, just because a doctor says that, in his opinion, medical opinion, you don't have that type of right without judge, trial, anything. They think that they can come and get your guns. And what they want the most, they want to get the guns at least of the 25 million or more American veterans, because they know that they're the first type of problem any regime will find out when you have millions of people like yourself that you of office, not only of office, of loyalty to this republic, it doesn't expire. And they know that. They know that you got the training, you got the heart, and you got the mindset. And that's what normally tyrants want. They want to disarm first the guardians, the watchmen. That's why it's so important that you stop, guys, that type of accident. It wasn't an accident. It was like a test. It was just a test. So I'm telling you, this is happening. It's 2015. I hope whoever's going to listen to this broadcasting in the future, they will realize that, first of all, I hope we were wrong. And more important, I hope we will do everything we can to win this battle. This is not a battle. This is a war for survival of freedom. Because after we are gone, after America is gone, you have to watch these movies like 1994. That's nothing what's going to happen here and around the world. Matthew-Shea, before I let you go, I'm sure you're familiar with global government, the New World Order. This is not a conspiracy anymore. Even on mainstream news, Fox News, they were talking about that a few months ago. Are you familiar with the word New World Order / global government?
Absolutely. In fact, I get asked sometimes, do you believe in that Agenda 21? That's conspiracy theory. And I'll say, are you talking about the 300-page, 30-chapter document entitled the UN Agenda for the 21st Century? Is that what you're saying doesn't exist?
Exactly.
And now they have Agenda 2030. People can't fight this. They can't fight it.
Listen, I wanted to bring you on the show for two reasons. First of all, I want to know all the listeners. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in Hawaii, if you're in California, wherever you are. We need to help each other. Even people that, let's say, people running from other state office, doesn't matter. We are here as Americans, and we need to stand close to each other. Even sometimes, during the election times, we need good people everywhere. So if you want to support people like Matthew-Shea, even if you are, like example, in Oregon, doesn't matter. You can help him out. Matt, leave your website, first of all, if people can reach you out, maybe send you a donation or whatever they want to do.
Absolutely. If people want to get a hold of me, I'm on Facebook at Matt-Shea, S-H-E-A, and then also my website is VoteShea, S-H-E-A.com. That's VoteShea.com. You can email me there. You can reach out to me there, and we have a network across this country. And I think one of the greatest lessons that I would like to leave is this: if we stand armed but peaceably against this tyranny, every single time we've done that, they've had to back down.
Yes.
And we're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it for our friends and neighbors, and I think that's the ultimate expression of love.
Perfect. And I want to dedicate a song for you that I wrote. The song is called, since you mentioned twice during our conversation, The Line in the Sand, and the song is called The Line in the Sand. Music and lyrics by myself. And I want to remind all my listeners out there, I'm here as an act of love, okay? I could do many other things. I don't need to be on the air, and I couldn't care less, really. But this is for me an opportunity to reach out, try to wake up anybody out there listening. And more important, after we educate each other, we need to stand up together and stand the line together. Let's stand together, this line in the sand. If you want to support this show, it's very simple. All you got to do, you go to Zanna, ZANNA.us. You can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. And doing so, you allow this show to be free like it is right now. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. And I want to say hi, God's willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday. And this is The Line in the Sand, dedicated to all my brothers and sisters in freedom in Washington State. Thank you very much. Matt.
Thank you.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. Line in the sand, are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand, just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you're gonna take it? How much more you're gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you. You see things are getting rough.
to see you in just a few seconds before midnight.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid,
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid,
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid,
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.